He fled the school gates to escape the cruel bullies, but a far more sinister shadow is waiting for him at home. Nursing his painful bruises, the brown-haired boy dreads facing his family with yet another beating. Stepping into the quiet hallway, he calls out to let his family know he has finally returned. He walks inside quietly, desperately hoping he can keep his painful secret hidden for just one day. He reaches for the doorknob, noting his mother will be late from work before calling out to his father. He casually offers to order their favorite dinner, but his words freeze as he peers inside the room. Horror washes over his face as his eyes lock onto a sight that makes his heart completely stop. Screaming in absolute terror, he lunges forward to catch his father's collapsing body. Trembling with adrenaline, the panic boy realizes he must call emergency services before it is too late. Just as panic takes hold, the sudden sound of his sister's shoes at the front door paralyzes him. His sweet little sister Yenhee steps inside with a bright smile, forcing him to desperately yell for her to stay back. She runs down the hall, bursting with pride over her kindergarten drawing, completely unaware of the tragedy. Little Yenhee beams with excitement, eager to show their father her masterpiece. He intercepts her in a tight embrace, shielding her eyes and lying that their father is simply asleep. The young girl looks up, confused by her brother's strange behavior and trembling voice. Tears stream down his bruised face, leaving his sister deeply unsettled as she asks why he is crying. At the funeral, the father's smiling portrait stands amidst flowers, his tragic death blamed on a ruthless corporate giant. Outraged relatives scream in agony at the funeral hall, cursing the company that ruined their innocent family. While anger consumes the room, the grieving boy sits silently on the floor, holding his weeping sister close. Their weeping mother wipes her tears, expressing her hollow gratitude to those who came to pay their respects. He reflects on the ruinous corporate lawsuit that ultimately drove his father over the edge. Desperate to prove his innocence against embezzlement charges, his father had hired an incredibly expensive defense lawyer. But on the day of the trial, the high-priced legal team abandoned him, leaving the father entirely alone. They lost everything, saddled with massive damages that turned their peaceful lives into an absolute living hell. He looks at his father's gentle, smiling face in the frame, mourning the kind man who never deserved such cruelty. Time passes, and the boy walks through the busy city streets, carrying a heavy burden no teenager should bear. Suddenly, an eerie, malevolent black mist begins to swirl around the unsuspecting crowd. A terrifying, dark entity with piercing crimson eyes crouches right in the middle of the sidewalk. He freezes in sheer disbelief, desperately questioning why these horrific apparitions continue to plague his sight. The monstrous shadow unleashes a silent, terrifying roar, asserting its horrifying presence in the human world. Whether awake or asleep, a swarm of grotesque, grinning spirits relentlessly looms over his bed. Sweating and trembling in his sleep, the boy pleads for anyone to save him from this torment. Little Yenhee kneels beside his bed, frantically shaking him to wake him from the terrible nightmare. Tears well in her eyes as she begs him not to leave her, forcing him to weakly open his eyes. He immediately pulls his frightened sister into a fierce, protective hug, refusing to let her suffer. He gently comforts her, promising that he is strong and will absolutely not die. The endless cycle continues as he flees from terrifying spirits by day and battles nightmares by night. Sprinting through the crowded city streets, he realizes his body is reaching its absolute breaking point. Determined to survive, the boy vows to find the source of these monsters and end this curse once and for all. He skids around a corner, catching sight of a familiar crimson aura bleeding into the alleyway. The sinister red smoke billows aggressively, warning him of the danger lurking just ahead. He corners the dark creature in the narrow alley, demanding to know why it keeps stalking him. The shadowy monster turns slowly, utterly shocked that a human can actually perceive its form. The boy clenches his jaw, confidently confirming that he can see every single detail of the beast. Enraged, the dark spirit lunges forward with razor-sharp claws, promising to make him regret his curiosity. He raises his arms defensively as the terrifying creature closes the distance in a flash. A lethal dark slash tears through the air, aimed directly at the helpless boy. Suddenly, a brilliant barrier of blue light erupts, violently repelling the monster's deadly strike. The dark entity is blasted backwards, screaming in agony as an unknown power surges from the boy. The wounded monster demands to know what kind of power he just used, leaving the boy staring at his hands in absolute shock. Trapped in a dark alleyway, Yu Huanjie stands his ground against a terrifying creature that refuses to let him escape. As the dark spirit lunges forward with razor-sharp claws, a brilliant shield of blue light erupts, completely shielding the helpless teenager. Blasted backward by the mysterious surge of power, the monstrous shadow recoils in agonizing shock, unable to comprehend what just happened. The creature's crimson eyes glow with intense rage as it stares down its target, plotting its next lethal strike. Fueled by malice, the beast throws itself back into the fray, only for its own physical form to violently rupture under the immense strain. To Yu Huanjie's utter bewilderment, the formidable monster collapses onto the pavement, completely knocking itself unconscious. Shifting right before his eyes, the terrifying dark mist dissolves, revealing a human spirit bound to the physical realm. Yu Hyunjae demands answers from the newly revealed spirit, who casually claims to be nothing more than an ordinary student. The brown-haired spirit admits to wandering the human world, harmlessly messing with random people rather than targeting Yu Hyunjae specifically. Looking closer, Yu Hyunjae notices a shocking detail on the spirit's jacket. It is the crest of his very own school. A chilling realization washes over the teenager as he wonders if this deceased soul once walked the same school hallways. When questioned about his identity, the mysterious ghost confesses that he has completely forgotten his own name. Yu Hyunjae remains highly skeptical of the spirit's intentions, viewing all ghosts as nothing but troublesome entities. Refusing to deal with supernatural antics, the teenager grabs the spirit, determined to banish him back to the afterlife. The frantic ghost desperately protests, insisting that some spirits actually exist to help humans solve their problems. Determined to prove his worth, the persistent spirit begs to tag along, despite Yu Hyunjae's flat rejection. As they walk through the quiet city streets at night, the spirit recounts the tragic truck accident that cut his life short. The teenager is deeply unnerved by how casually the ghost discusses his brush with turning into an evil spirit. Shifting the conversation, the ghost proudly boasts of his former status as a top-ranked student before his untimely passing. Returning home, Yu Hyunjae's heart sinks as he discovers another foreboding document waiting for his family. He holds up a chilling legal notice, confirming that the looming threat of debt collection has finally arrived. Yu Hyunjae explains his family's desperate financial ruin caused by a ruthless corporate lawsuit that drove his father to the edge. He shares the crushing weight of his mother's endless struggle to pay off the massive debt on a meager salary. Seeing his distress, the ghost proposes a surprising and radical solution, renouncing the inheritance altogether. The spirit explains that legally rejecting the inheritance would completely free Yu Hyunjae and his mother from the father's debts. Suspicious of any legal advice, the teenager expresses his deep-seated distrust of expensive and deceitful lawyers. With a confident smirk, the brown-haired ghost assures him that they can handle the entire legal filing themselves without any professional help. The scene shifts to the imposing exterior of the Seoul family court, where their desperate plan is set into motion. Yu Hyunjae hands over the prepared power of attorney, taking a massive gamble to save his family from ruin. The court official meticulously reviews the documents, confirming that everything is perfectly filed and in order. Stepping out of the grand courthouse, a profound sense of relief finally begins to settle over the young teenager. The spirit reassures him that their legal troubles will soon be entirely resolved, much to Yu Hyunjae's quiet gratitude. Overflowing with sudden joy, Yu Hyunjae pulls the spirit into a playful hug, catching the ghost completely off guard. Just outside the court, an elderly woman and her grandchild tearfully express their deepest gratitude to a public defender. Yu Hyunjae and the ghost look on as the kind lawyer reassures the desperate family that they are safe from eviction. The grateful grandmother tries to offer a humble token of appreciation, which the lawyer warmly and politely declines. The humble public defender bids them farewell, leaving the family bowing in profound gratitude as he walks away. The heartwarming scene triggers painful memories for Yu Hyunjae, reminding him of his father's tragic betrayal by a corrupt lawyer. He recalls the smug, greedy grin of the defense attorney who abandoned his father the moment their money ran out. A dark void represents the sudden disappearance of the corrupt lawyer, leaving the family entirely defenseless. The devastating loss drove his broken father to spiral into despair, leading to the ultimate family tragedy. Memories of his father's chaotic funeral and the family's public humiliation flood back to torture Yu Hyunjae once more. The teenager reflects on how those scars made him despise the entire legal system, believing justice was only for the wealthy. Witnessing a truly righteous lawyer, however, rekindles a spark of hope that the law can actually protect the defenseless. Driven by a sudden, intense resolve, Yu Hyunjae drops to his knees on the stone pavement. Looking up at the brilliant ghost, the teenager desperately begs for his academic help to become a lawyer himself. Tears stream down Yu Hyunjae's face as he vows never to let his family suffer the same tragic fate as his father. The spirit's eyes narrow with amusement as he recognizes the immense potential and respect of the legal path. Extending a helping hand, the brilliant ghost accepts the challenge, warning Yu Hyunjae that his supernatural tutoring will be absolute hell. With a determined smile, Yu Hyunjae proudly introduces himself as he prepares to completely rewrite his destiny. Determined to rewrite his tragic destiny, a mysterious spirit with piercing crimson eyes offers him a dangerous proposal. Sealing their supernatural pact with a firm handshake, the ghost introduces himself as Red Eyes while the ambitious teenager places his future in his hands. The rigorous academic training begins immediately within the walls of a bustling high school classroom, where the teacher suddenly calls on Yu Hyunjae to answer a difficult history question. Yu Hyunjae stands up and guesses incorrectly, prompting his teacher to quickly correct him with the right historical facts for the college entrance exam. Hovering right beside him in class, Red Eye smugly mocks his basic mistake while the stressed teenager desperately defends his long night of studying. Realizing his student is hopelessly behind, the supernatural tutor takes charge, laying out a rigorous strategic plan starting with modern history to maximize his score. Red Eyes boasts about his elite preparation while Yu Hyunjae listens in overwhelmed silence, realizing the sheer intensity of the exam grind ahead. As they exit the building, Red Eyes demands they analyze 5 years of past exam papers, leaving Yu Hyunjae completely astounded by the heavy workload. Arriving home, the teenager is surprised to find his hardworking mother in the kitchen, who explains that the restaurant has closed early for the day. She sadly explains that the owner has put the restaurant up for sale to retire, leaving her facing the sudden threat of unemployment. While his mother gently reassures him that she will find another job, Red Eye suddenly chimes in with a brilliant realization about the restaurant's location. Relying on his supernatural intuition, the spirit points out that the soup restaurant sits on a highly lucrative spot that has made the owner incredibly wealthy. The ghost cryptically suggests turning this crisis into a major business opportunity, sparking confusion in the desperate teenager. At dinner, his mother gasps in disbelief when Yu Hyunjae proposes taking over the restaurant, questioning where they could possibly find the funds. The young man suggests selling their home to fund the purchase, but his mother instantly objects, worried about where they will live and how he will study. He confidently reassures her that they can renovate the restaurant to live there, promising to find a way to study no matter what. Deeply moved by his determination to secure a better life for their family, his mother tearfully agrees that they cannot afford to miss this golden opportunity. Thanks to the generous owner allowing delayed payment, the family officially takes over the bustling restaurant, ready to rebuild their lives. Just as the spirit predicted, the restaurant's business completely explodes, allowing them to rapidly pay off all their borrowed debts. Balancing exhausting restaurant shifts with intense studying, the brilliant student successfully graduates from law school with the invaluable help of his loyal ghost tutor. Walking through the towering city streets on his first day as a lawyer, he reflects on the grueling 13-year journey it took to reach this milestone. The proud spirit eagerly claims full credit for turning an average student into a certified lawyer, while the young attorney playfully requests some credit for surviving the hella schedule. Red Eyes curiously asks why he chose to work at such a small law firm, wondering if it was due to his prior warnings about corporate giants. Turning around in confusion, the spirit realizes his partner has suddenly vanished from his side, leaving only a faint outline behind. Spotting a needy elder on the sidewalk, the compassionate new attorney kneels down to offer him a generous amount of money for a warm meal. The ghost furiously scolds him for being too naive, but Yu Hyunjae calmly insists that starting his first day of work with a good deed is the right choice. The elderly man looks up in surprise and mentions his father's hardships, instantly striking a deeply personal chord with the young lawyer. The wise elder warmly predicts that the young man will do immense good in his career, promising that his kindness will return as great blessings. Deeply moved by the elder's comforting words, the attorney offers his heartfelt gratitude as a wave of emotion washes over him. As they walk away, Red Eyes grumbles that the elder was just a con artist who squeezed extra money out of him, but the attorney remains content with helping. Passing by a busy street, they overhear a muscular young man shouting aggressive threats into his phone, hinting at serious trouble brewing. Staring down at his phone in deep frustration, the muscular student sighs near the seated elder, completely at a loss on how to handle his dangerous situation. The elderly man suddenly calls out to the student, warning him that his girlfriend is facing severe trouble and that his own path lies in jeopardy. The old man warns him with intense gravity that continuing down his current path will inevitably lead to a terrible disaster. Right on cue, the mysterious elder offers to introduce the distressed young man to the perfect lawyer who can solve all his problems. Arriving at his brand new workplace, the young attorney stands tall and formally introduces himself to his supportive new colleagues. With a bright and hopeful smile, he expresses his immense excitement to begin his legal career and work alongside his new team. The firm's head, attorney Kim Chang-soo, warmly welcomes him aboard, noting that he has already heard great things about him from mutual friends. Yu Hyunjae is introduced to the friendly office manager Kim Han-soo and the welcoming assistant Oh Hyun-ah, who were thrilled to have him. The senior attorney guides him down the clean office hallway, showing him the layout and assigning him to his personal workspace in room 4. While the hovering spirit quietly grumbles about the humble size of the office, the grateful attorney remains positive as they prepare to meet another colleague. The boss proudly introduces Yu Hyunjae to the resident expert, Attorney Am, as the team continues to gather. The sharp and strictly professional attorney Eom Ji-sung introduces himself, but immediately declines a group lunch offer due to his overwhelming workload. The boss quickly reassures him not to take the cold rejection personally, while the humble newcomer eagerly expresses his main focus is to learn. Walking through the office, the senior partner details how they divide the operational expenses and share rotation duties for taking walk-in clients. When asked about today's scheduled consultations, the assistant reveals that the assigned lawyer is stuck in court all day. Seizing the sudden opportunity, the boss asks if the rookie attorney is ready to step up and handle his very first client on day 1. His personal office nameplate shines brightly on the wall, officially marking the grand beginning of his quest for true justice. Touching his new desk nameplate, Yu Hyunjae realizes that since clients are assigned by turn, a slow day could mean earning absolutely nothing. Hovering behind him, the dramatic spirit loudly laments their exhausting path, jokingly wondering if they should have aimed to become a judge or prosecutor instead. Determined to clean up the corrupt legal system from the inside, the young attorney sits at his new desk reflecting on his deep-seated motivation to defend the helpless. The rookie lawyer explains the practical advantages of starting at a shared office, prompting his supernatural tutor to playfully lament his pupil's overly pure conscience. Though they share a common name, the firm actually operates as separate offices for independent attorneys who split the overhead costs. He carefully reviews the rotation schedule, hoping a walk-in client will provide his first major breakthrough. The spirit begins to sweat as he anticipates a slow day ahead. Anxiety builds as the empty hallway suggests a complete lack of prospective clients. The ghost panics over the threat of eviction, but the attorney remains optimistic. Missing his turn today would mean waiting days for another opportunity. A steaming bowl of noodles arrives to interrupt his anxious thoughts. The senior partner invites him to lunch, noticing his obvious first-day jitters. The veteran boss reassures him about the typical struggles of starting out. They share a meal while the seasoned attorneys offer words of encouragement. The boss flashes a warm, welcoming smile as he shares his own early career struggles. While his spirit guide assesses the office staff, the rookie attorney observes the senior partner's friendly demeanor. A sudden realization strikes the young lawyer as he looks closer. Using a supernatural ability to perceive human souls, he notices the senior partner is cloaked in a deceitful dark green energy. The sinister aura confirms that the boss is a highly skilled liar. The senior partner receives an urgent phone call regarding a detective's arrival. He abruptly excuses himself to attend to the urgent matter, generously covering the lunch bill. He instructs the office manager and the other attorney to ensure the rookie makes it back safely. The spectral tutor grumbles about the senior attorney's easy success. An unexpected presence at the restaurant catches the young attorney completely off guard. The office manager approaches their table, offering to buy them coffee to celebrate. A familiar, unsettling dark mist begins to swirl through the air. The rookie attorney is shocked to see the exact same deceitful green aura around the manager. Realization prompts him to slam his chopsticks down in sudden defiance. Declining the coffee offer, he prepares to head straight back to the office. The office manager breaks into a nervous sweat under the lawyer's sharp gaze. Suspicions confirmed, the rookie attorney prepares to expose a hidden truth. He confronts the manager, revealing he knows his secret relationship with the senior attorney. Caught red-handed, the sweating manager attempts to laugh off the revelation. The young lawyer delivers a firm reminder about who pays the bills before walking away. The panicked manager is left completely bewildered by the rookie's sharp intuition. Back at the office, a hot cup of coffee sits ready as a guest seeks a consultation. The senior partner attempts to intercept the wealthy prospective client in the meeting room. The senior attorney deceitfully claims he will be handling today's caseload instead. Just in time, the rookie attorney walks through the door, disrupting the senior partner's scheme. The senior lawyer is visibly startled by the rookie's sudden and timely return. Hyunjae politely but firmly offers to take over his designated client, leaving the boss with no choice but to yield. The young client is thrilled to finally meet the exact attorney he was looking for. He expresses his absolute relief at being able to consult with him directly. While the client speaks, the ghost tutor observes with deep suspicion. The rookie attorney listens intently as the young man reveals how he discovered the firm. The client explains that a mysterious old man on the street personally recommended his legal services. He adds that the firm's sign seemed to glow supernaturally with a halo of light. Though the lawyer chalks it up to a new sign, the client insists it was a divine sign. Sensing an unusual situation, the attorney officially begins the consultation by asking for the details. The client explains that his girlfriend is currently living in an office tel registered under his name. Heartbreak struck when he discovered another man was secretly visiting her behind his back. In a desperate bid to save his relationship, he paid the rival a massive cash sum to walk away, unaware of the trap he was walking into. He discovered his lover walking away in the arms of another man, shattering his heart in a brutal betrayal. Crying tears of pure frustration, the devastated youth declares his desperate love while cursing the persistent homewrecker. As the client breaks down in agonizing despair, the young attorney decides to visually inspect his spiritual energy. A blinding golden radiance suddenly erupts from the youth, protected by a sacred white spiritual barrier. Staring back with tear-rimmed eyes, the emotional youth waits anxiously for a viable legal solution. The lawyer confirms the living arrangement, shocked to learn the client owns the entire building before inquiring about previous warnings. Reassuring his client, the attorney explains that they can prosecute the intruder for fraud through civil and criminal lawsuits. When asked about securing crucial security camera evidence, the wealthy young client confirms his high-end building is fully equipped. The attorney outlines a strategic plan starting with the certified letter officially offering his professional representation. Desperate for immediate justice, the determined client pleads with the attorney to launch the case. Slamming his fist onto the desk in absolute resolve, the wealthy client places his full trust in his new lawyer. After instantly transferring a massive retainer fee, the satisfied client departs, leaving the attorney's nameplate shining on the wall. While the spirit guide grumbles about the wealthy client being an absolute pushover, the attorney firmly defends his first paying client. They secure the vital security footage, but a week of silence forces them to escalate the matter to a criminal complaint. Simultaneously launching a civil suit for recovery, the rookie lawyer receives a sudden urgent phone call during his rounds. The panicked client on the line reveals that the terrified rival is desperate to apologize in person. Arriving at the meeting spot, the attorney spots his eager client waving alongside the quiet rival. Introductions are cut short as the rival nervously promises to vacate the apartment and leave the girl alone. Looking closer, the lawyer is deeply unsettled to witness an incredibly murky, pitch-brown aura surrounding the man. The rival bows deeply, pleading for the charges to be dropped while the client scolds him for his actions. The attorney de-escalates the tension by drafting a formal settlement agreement right there on the spot. Overjoyed with the swift victory, the grateful client wraps his lawyer in a giant emotional bear hug. The scene shifts to a local boxing gym as the spirit jokes about the client's intense gratitude. Punching a heavy bag with intense focus, the attorney listens to his ghost tutor predict a steady stream of future business. Despite the victory, the young lawyer cannot shake the memory of the rival's uniquely sinister and pitch-black aura. A sudden, shrill ringing of the desk phone disrupts the quiet office with an ominous incoming call. Picking up the receiver, the rookie attorney professionally introduces himself to the mysterious caller on the other end. A shaky elderly voice introduces herself as the client's grandmother, instantly catching the young lawyer's attention. A chilling revelation strikes like lightning as she announces that the client has just been arrested for murder. Heading straight to the police station, the attorney struggles to reconcile the horrific news with his gentle client. While the spirit gossips about the sudden turn of events, the lawyer firmly urges him to withhold judgment until they speak. Searching the busy hallways, the spirit guide suddenly spots a familiar figure waiting for them in the distance. A pair of elegant black loafers marks the presence of someone important waiting just ahead. The duo spots a venerable elderly woman praying solemnly, revealing her high status and a renowned spiritual order. The elder's sharp gaze suddenly snaps toward them, sensing a powerful presence entering the hallway.
Approaching the young attorney, she confirms his identity while he politely asks if she is the grandmother.
Realization strikes the attorney as he finally understands the source of the protective white shield around his client. She introduces herself as a powerful elder, confirming his suspicions that she was the source of the protective barrier. Staring into her piercing eyes, the lawyer notes that only a powerful shaman could possess such a profound, soul-piercing gaze. The grand shaman praises the attorney's strong energy, explaining that her grandson insisted on hiring only him for his defense. While the spirit guide freaks out over her shamanic identity, the lawyer quickly chides him for lacking empathy. The spirit's complaints are cut short as he suddenly clutches his throat, struggling to breathe. The attorney watches in horror as his supernatural companion is suddenly silenced by an unseen, crushing force. With chilling composure, the ancient shaman casually admits to silencing the noisy spirit with a simple thought. Her eyes flash with a blinding divine white light as she promises the spirit's voice will eventually return. Swallowing hard, the young lawyer realizes he is dealing with a level of spiritual authority he has never encountered before. Steeling his resolve, the attorney asks the crucial question regarding the identity of the murder victim. The shaman solemnly reveals that the victim is none other than the client's cheating girlfriend. Stunned by the horrifying twist, the lawyer struggles to process that the young woman has met a tragic end. He recalls how deeply his client loved her despite her betrayal, making the sudden murder accusation look incredibly suspicious. Standing in the quiet hallway, the distressed grandmother laments her grandson's unfortunate relationship. The determined attorney reassures her, promising to initiate an immediate visit. A tense silence looms outside the designated police interrogation room. Stepping inside, the lawyer finally faces his distressed and desperate client. Handcuffed and terrified, the client desperately maintains his absolute innocence. Pressured for answers, the disoriented client admits his memory completely faded. A fond memory recalls a joyous evening spent alongside his beloved. He felt immense relief, believing their relationship was finally safe. On the couch, she reassures him of her unwavering devotion. Blissfully happy, the young man eagerly suggests another row. With an enigmatic smile, she eagerly encourages him to continue. A cold glass of alcohol sets a somber, lingering mood. Embracing him tightly, she promises this is his final chance. Whispering softly, she delivers a stricken final warning. She readily agrees, right before his consciousness fades into darkness. Awakening to bloody hands, he discovered a horrific scene. Devastated and weeping, he describes the terrible aftermath he found. The lawyer searches for evidence, but the security cameras failed. The attorney absorbs the grim reality of the missing footage. He strictly advises his client to remain silent on blacked-out details. Trusting his client's radiant energy, the lawyer stands ready. The client repeats his tragic missing account to the detective. Looking at the stubborn detective, the attorney senses a bowel. The detective's dark green energy warns of deep, immovable prejudice. Breaking this investigator's preconceived bias will require a miracle. The worried client watches helplessly from behind the cold bars. Outside, the noisy spirit guide joyfully celebrates his return voice. They banter over the old shaman's incredibly terrifying authority. An unexpected voice suddenly stops the duo in their tracks. The shaman's elegant daughter arrives to escort them to safety. A massive modern skyscraper stands tall against the bright horizon. She presents her guests, leaving the attorney utterly speechless. An absolute feast of delicious delicacies awaits their arrival. The elder warmly invites them both to enjoy the meal. The hungry spirit enthusiastically devours the delicious food.
Guzzling food, the spirit declares it his best post-death meal.
The elder reflects on her difficult early life and marriage. Fond memories of her beloved family bring a tragic comfort. Her husband's sudden passing left her with only their son. She realized her heavy spiritual fate was passed to him.
Her strong opposition drove her beloved son away forever.
A heartbreaking reunion occurred inside a silent, cold morgue. In her immense grief, only a precious newborn remained. She swore to dedicate her life to raising her grandson. Despite his flaws, her grandson possessed a beautifully pure soul. The powerful elder desperately begs the attorney to save him. The steadfast lawyer promises to uncover the absolute truth. A soft, satisfied smile graces the elderly shaman's face. Walking away, the lawyer suspects a far more calculated culprit. The furious rival boyfriend emerges as the prime suspect.
With a grim, knowing grin, the rookie lawyer anticipates the intense, explosive fury of their primary suspect.
Determined to crack the case, Attorney Yu marches forward alongside his spirit guide, eager to confront the dangerous suspect face to face. Tracking their target to the sashimi bar listed on the certified letter, the duo prepares to gather critical intelligence. Stepping inside the restaurant, the lawyer inquires about Dusik, only for the hostile chef to reveal the suspect was recently fired.
Introducing himself, Attorney Yu asks when Dusik quit, prompting the shocked chef to ask if this is regarding the suspect's severe gambling debts.
As the chef wonders if Dusik caused more trouble, the cooperative attorney politely requests details about the suspect's background. A flashback reveals Dusik's charming past as a highly popular and handsome server who easily won over the restaurant's customers. The chef begrudgingly admits that Dusik's good looks initially made him a highly valuable asset to the business. Attorney Yu notes Dusik's eventual gambling addiction, which the chef explains started small before spiraling out of control. The chef laments how Dusik began stealing restaurant funds to fuel his addiction, driving endless debt collectors to their doorstep. When asked where to find the runaway suspect, the fed-up chef points them toward the downtown illegal gambling dens. Locating an unassuming parlor downtown, Attorney Yu decides to begin his search at this suspicious game room. The spirit guide explains that the game room is merely a clever front for a highly illegal gambling operation.
A towering, suspicious bouncer blocks their path, demanding to know what business the newcomer has inside.
Feigning a nervous desire to play, the lawyer realizes gaining entry on his own will be nearly impossible. Sensing a trap, the hostile bouncer suspects the lawyer is an undercover reporter and aggressively orders him to get lost. Playing it cool, Attorney Yu winks and discreetly sends his trusty spirit guide, Red Eyes, to infiltrate the facility.
With effortless, ghostly ease, Red Eye slips right through the bouncer's solid body to begin the stealthy infiltration.
Swooping past the secure entrance, the spectral ally glides deep into the heart of the shady establishment.
Floating above the crowded slot machines, the spirit guide scans the gloomy room, eagerly searching for their prime suspect.
Standing outside, Attorney Yu prepares to check the next block when his phone suddenly vibrates with an unexpected alert. A mysterious anonymous text message reveals Dusik's exact current location at a nearby intersection game room. Arriving at the high-rise video chat room, the lawyer politely calls out as he prepares to investigate. A rugged guard in a floral shirt claims he has the wrong address, but the lawyer confidently stands his ground.
Asserting that his friend is inside, Attorney Yu is met with a demand to provide the target's name first. Before tension escalates, a familiar woman waves him inside, loudly scolding him for taking so long to fetch cash.
It is Miss Hamey, the shaman's daughter, leaving the attorney completely stunned by her sudden unexpected appearance.
Once inside, Hamey reveals that her powerful mother anticipated the lawyer's need for assistance and sent her to help.
While the attorney worries about her safety, Hamey casually explains she bribed her way in, urging him to focus on the task. Panning across the dimly lit room, a rugged, smoking figure sits hunched over a nearby machine, radiating an intense, chaotic energy. Mutters of frustration escape the disheveled gambler's lips as he continues to lose round after round. Exploding with violent rage, the desperate man slams his fist onto the slot machine, accusing the house of rigging the games. Observing the suspect, Attorney Yu confirms that despite his haggard appearance, this is indeed the elusive Kang Dusik. Deciding on a direct approach, the lawyer instructs Hamey to stand by and contact the authorities if things go south. As Dusik screams in fury over another loss, a massive enforcer suddenly looms over him with a cold warning. Instantly de-escalating the tantrum, the powerful guard violently throws the rowdy gambler onto the hard floor. Standing tall, the bouncer warns the suspect to leave while the groveling gambler begs for just one more turn. Refusing to comply, Dusik violently lunges back to attack, only to be effortlessly deflected by the guard. Cornered and completely unhinged, Dusik pulls out a sharp knife, threatening the guard with lethal force. While the guard issues a chilling counter-threat, the crazed suspect screams that he will slaughter everyone in the room. Before a bloodbath erupts, a calm voice interjects, warning that a murder will shut down the lucrative establishment. Stepping directly into the line of fire, Attorney Yu confronts Dusik, who instantly recognizes him as his rival's defense lawyer.
Keeping his composure, the attorney urges Dusik to drop his weapon, dropping a bombshell that his hospitalized girlfriend is asking for him.
Dusik's eyes widen in absolute horror and disbelief as he struggles to process the shocking news of his girlfriend's survival.
His hand trembles violently, his grip on the blade loosening as sheer panic and denial overwhelm his senses. Snapping back into a psychotic frenzy, the suspect lunges forward with a vicious slash, accusing the lawyer of lying.
With lightning-fast reflexes, the attorney smoothly evades the lethal swipe, keeping his cool under extreme pressure.
Pivoting with flawless martial precision, the young lawyer positions himself for a decisive, rapid counteroffensive. Delivering a swift and devastating blow, Attorney Yu disarms the suspect and neutralizes the deadly threat in an instant.
Standing triumphantly over the defeated attacker, the lawyer orders Ms. Hami to call the police, securing their critical lead.
Pinning the struggling suspect to the cold tile floor, Attorney Yu forces the desperate gambler to face justice as he screams in utter disbelief over his girlfriend's survival. The suspect's explosive, unhinged reaction to her name confirms his guilt beyond any shadow of a doubt.
With absolute conviction, the relentless lawyer directly accuses Dusik of the horrific crime. Under the attorney's piercing gaze, the cornered culprit's sanity completely crumbles. Silence seals his fate as the police lead the defeated suspect away in handcuffs. The shaman's elegant daughter playfully compliments the gentle attorney's surprising combat skills.
Determined to secure his client's immediate release, Yu heads to the police station to deliver a full statement. A baffling media blackout reveals that the news completely omitted the suspect's connection to the murder. Shockingly, Dusik was only booked on simple assault charges, leaving the murder investigation completely untouched.
The fiery spirit guide fumes in outrage, but Yu remains composed as he prepares a formal witness subpoena.
Sensing a deep conspiracy, Yu realizes a powerful unseen hand is actively burying the truth.
The chilling lack of evidence in the press confirms his worst fears. An unexpected visitor interrupts his thoughts, knocking politely at the office door. The powerful elderly shaman enters, seeking a crucial moment of the attorney's time. Grateful for the assistance, Yu warmly thanks the shaman for her daughter's vital role.
Despite the arrest, the shaman remains deeply anxious that her grandson is still behind bars. Yu confidently promises to drag the truth out of Dusik on the witness stand.
A grim, solemn shadow falls over the shaman's face as she prepares her shocking confession.
She reveals the horrifying truth that her grandson is merely a pawn in a larger war against her.
Stunned, the young lawyer listens intently as she traces the conspiracy back 2 months. A sinister business card from the nation's most powerful law firm is placed on the table.
The massive conglomerate sought to seize the shaman's valuable ancestral land in Yongin.
Determined to protect her sacred grounds, she repeatedly rejected their lucrative development offers.
Corporate suits pressured her, desperate to finalize the contract at any cost.
The arrogant representative warned her that she would never receive a better deal. She warned them of a dark, blood-soaked history and a terrible curse on the land. Dismissing her spiritual warnings as mere nonsense, the executive grew increasingly frustrated. Leaving with a chilling threat, the corporate titan vowed she would deeply regret her defiance. The terrible realization dawns on Yu that a corporate empire is pulling the strings. That very morning, the ruthless corporate giants delivered their final devastating ultimatum. The cold-blooded executives openly held her beloved grandson's life hostage for the land. Cornered and desperate, the heartbroken grandmother was forced to surrender her precious land. The pieces fall into place as they realize Taeyong is actively sabotaging the murder investigation. The corrupt firm designed this perfect frame-up as brutal, calculated revenge. Taeyong Law Firm commands absolute authority over the entire legal and corporate landscape.
With judges and prosecutors desperate to join their ranks, Taeyong controls the courts. Yu realizes even the presiding judge is likely beholden to the corporate giants.
Facing a rigged trial, Yu asks if the firm promised to release her grandson. Instead of mercy, the sadistic corporate monsters intend to crush him completely.
Realizing Gijin is a hostage, the shaman sought help from other major firms. Yet her grandson steadfastly refused any defense but his trusted rookie attorney.
Placing his life in Yu's hands, the client demands absolute victory. Accepting the monumental burden, Yu prepares to head into the legal arena.
The door closes, leaving the rookie lawyer to face his greatest battle.
A smug rival lawyer mockingly congratulates him on landing such a high-stakes disaster.
The toxic colleague urges him to throw the case and save his career.
Ignoring the bitter jealousy, Yu politely thanks him while his spirit guide gestures rudely. Even the loyal spirit guide begins to feel the suffocating weight of defeat. Stepping into the light, the resolute attorney vows never to abandon his client. With his career, his client's life, and a corporate empire on the line, Attorney Yu marches directly into the court to face the ultimate showdown. The ultimate courtroom showdown begins, and Attorney Yu Hyun-jae starts his fateful day by checking on an elderly security guard's fragile health. His spiky-haired companion suddenly freezes, noticing a menacing, dark, ghostly presence looming directly behind the unsuspecting guard.
Yu urges calm, stating that the guard isn't in immediate danger and they must prioritize their own high-stakes trial. Suddenly, a terrifying female spirit with glowing red eyes and bloody tears screeches directly in the startled attorney's face. While the spiky-haired friend panics wildly, Yu calmly stands his ground beside the eerie, unmoving ghost. Yu observes the silent mourning spirit, noting her tragic appearance and the ominous black hole in her chest. Sensing her desperate plea, the young attorney gently asks if she has come to deliver an important message. The tragic spirit stares back in silence, her mournful expression hiding a dark and terrible secret. Instantly putting the pieces together, Yu realizes her true identity as the murder victim, Song Sulgi. The scene shifts to the high-rise trial, where the prosecutor reconstructs the events of that fateful bloody night. The aggressive prosecutor fiercely cross-examines Gi-jin, pressing him about waking up covered in his girlfriend's blood. The intense interrogation focuses on whether a blackout-induced argument could have triggered the violent crime. Gi-jin desperately maintains his innocence, insisting he had absolutely no conflict with the woman he loved. Yu confidently steps in to end the prosecutor's fruitless interrogation of the trembling defendant. Knowing the true battle is about to begin, the attorney braces himself as the judge calls for the next witness. A handcuffed Kang Do-sik is escorted to the stand as Yu resolves to drag the truth out of him. An oppressive silence fills the courtroom as the primary suspect prepares to face questioning. The judge instructs the suspect to take the oath while sharing a subtle, knowing nod with the opposing corporate representative. The spiky-haired colleague furiously alerts Yu to the highly suspicious eye contact between the judge and the corrupt Taeyong attorney. A dark reality looms as the defense team realizes the judge's ultimate goal is a lucrative corporate retirement at Taeyong Law Firm. The smug opposing attorney prepares to protect their vital witness to secure the rigged trial's outcome. This spiky-haired companion watches in shock as the spectral victim glides directly into the courtroom. Under the haunting gaze of the vengeful ghost, Yu steps forward to begin his relentless questioning. Yu demands details of Do-sik's relationship with Suogi, only for the suspect to dismiss it as a brief, casual affair. The defense lawyer instantly counters by revealing their 7-year-long history, sparking a desperate objection from the prosecution. The compromised judge immediately sustains the objection, warning Yu to change his line of questioning. Unshaken by the rigged system, Yu prepares to present damning social media evidence from the suspect's own account. He submits a clear photo showing the suspect and the victim look like an incredibly close and affectionate couple. His composed facade cracking, Do-sik begins to sweat as the irrefutable visual evidence is laid bare. Yu ruthlessly presses for an alibi, questioning the suspect's exact movements on the night of the murder. Do-sik tries to play it cool, claiming he was simply gaming and job hunting before going straight to sleep. As the companion marvels at the suspect's sudden calm, Yu realizes the corrupt Taeyong firm heavily coached him. Glancing at the spectral victim, Yu remembers that they fully anticipated these desperate lies. The silent spirit looks on with absolute resolve, ready to help expose her killer's facade. Yu catches the suspect off guard by bringing up an intimate nickname, which Do-sik immediately stutters to deny. The attorney triggers his next piece of evidence, freezing the panicked suspect right in his tracks. He projects a photo of the victim's birthday, questioning if jealousy over her new boyfriend drove him to murder. The opposing counsel frantically screams that Yu is leading the witness, and the biased judge quickly sustains the objection. The spiky-haired friend fumes in outrage at the blatantly rigged trial, realizing the entire court is conspiring against them. Despite the massive corruption, Yu knows that proving Do-sik's physical presence at the crime scene is their only path to victory. A confident grin spreads across Yu's face as he requests to present his next piece of crucial evidence. He displays photos of the tragic crime scene, focusing on the bloodstains and the victim's final moments. He explains that the physical evidence proving Gi-jin's severe intoxication makes it impossible for him to be the killer. Showing Gi-jin's blood-soaked hands, the attorney argues that a real killer would have fled instead of calling the police. He presents his official hypothesis that a sinister third party dragged the unconscious Gi-jin to frame him for the crime. Yu confidently announces to the stunned courtroom that they have uncovered concrete physical evidence of this third party. He showcases a photo of the suspect wearing a highly unique baseball cap while embracing the victim. He reveals that the cap was a highly unique limited edition gift that only 500 people in the world own. Under Yu's piercing gaze, the cornered suspect panics as he is directly asked if the rare cap belongs to him. Do-sik attempts a desperate, sweating lie to distance himself from the damning evidence, unaware that his trap is about to close. The moment of truth has arrived as attorney Yu confidently presents shocking time-stamped dashcam footage from the night of the murder. The camera reveals a mysterious hooded figure walking near the victim's apartment at midnight. Yu notes that the suspect's physical build matches the mysterious figure perfectly, sending a shiver of dread down the witness's spine. The footage catches the fleeing figure wearing the exact limited edition cap that was previously confirmed. With the victim's ghost watching silently, Yu demands to know what the suspect was doing during that missing hour. Yu prepares to deliver the final crushing blow by presenting a critical piece of physical evidence found near the crime scene. He dramatically reveals a blood-stained glove recovered from the scene, completely catching the prosecution off guard. Panic completely consumes the suspect as he internally wonders how they managed to find his carefully buried evidence. Cornered and desperate, the witness frantically denies owning the glove as his composure completely shatters. A chilling flashback reveals Seul-gi's spirit guiding Yu's team to the exact spot where the evidence was hidden.
Under the cover of night, they dug furiously into the earth to unearth the killer's dark secret.
Their desperate search finally pays off as they strike something solid buried deep underground. Working alongside the vengeful spirit, the defense team successfully unearths the crucial hidden piece of evidence.
Buried deep within the dark soil lay the killer's discarded blood-stained glove. Back in the courtroom, Yu reveals that DNA testing proved the glove contains the victim's blood alongside an unknown male's DNA.
Yu requests an immediate DNA comparison with the sweating witness on the stand to prove his guilt once and for all. As Yu asks the killer if the glove is his, the terrifying spirit of Seul-gi looms directly over him. Sensing a sudden shift in the courtroom's power dynamic, the corporate attorney adjusts his glasses in tense anticipation. The formidable corporate lawyer realizes that Yu is a dangerous threat to their rigged game. Unable to withstand the crushing pressure, the broken suspect finally confesses that the glove belongs to him.
Yu smiles in quiet triumph as his ecstatic companion celebrates their massive hard-won victory.
The furious corporate representative watches in silent disbelief as Yu delivers the final devastating accusation. Sobbing on the stand, the killer finally confesses to the tragic crime, claiming it was an accident.
The suspect explains he only wanted to confront her about rumors that she was leaving him.
Sensing a deeper conspiracy, Yu demands to know who planted those toxic lies in his head. Trembling with absolute terror, the broken witness stammers that he does not know who manipulated him. Haunted by the screaming spirit of the woman he murdered, the terrified killer hysterically confesses to the entire courtroom. Desperate to salvage the trial, the prosecutor screams a frantic objection to protect their rigged narrative. Consumed by overwhelming guilt and supernatural terror, the killer's eyes warp into glowing red spheres of pure madness.
Screaming over the prosecutor's objections, the witness completely confesses to the brutal crime.
The corrupt corporate attorney seethes in silence over their key pawn's pathetic failure. Yu watches calmly as the defeated corporate lawyer prepares to exit the ruined courtroom. With their corporate master departing in disgust, the biased judge nervously clears his throat. Realizing the case has completely collapsed, the cornered judge advises the prosecutor to withdraw the charges. The prosecution officially withdraws all charges against the innocent defendant, clearing his name forever. Still in shock, the relieved young client desperately asks if his nightmare is truly over. Yu warmly reassures his client that he is finally free from the threat of prison.
Tears of pure relief stream down the faces of the shaman and her daughter as their beloved relative is saved. Breathed a deep sigh of relief, Yu finishes his first trial as the peaceful spirit whispers her gratitude. The ghost of Seul-gi bows in deep appreciation for clearing her boyfriend's name.
Yu presses for details about the sinister forces that manipulated her boyfriend into committing the murder. She reveals a dark bargain was made by a third party to wipe out her boyfriend's massive debts in exchange for framing the innocent. Outraged by the cold-blooded betrayal, the spiky-haired companion demands to know who orchestrated the entire setup. The spirit points to the corrupt corporate empire as the ultimate orchestrators of this horrific conspiracy.
She laments the tragic betrayal by the man she loved, which kept her spirit bound to the mortal world. Vengeance burns in her eyes as she promises that her killer will face ultimate justice. Fading away slowly, the tragic spirit prepares to drag her killer down with her to the afterlife.
She reflects on the pure kindness of her innocent, framed boyfriend. She praises her former partner's unwavering sincerity despite the dark lies surrounding them. Transformed into a beautiful, peaceful soul, the spirit finally finds her peace as the next phase of this dangerous corporate war begins. A bittersweet farewell marks the end of a harrowing battle for justice as the beautiful spirit of Seul-gi floats away into the light, leaving the courtroom in stunned silence.
Handcuffed and emotional, Gi-jin turns to the defense attorney to hesitantly reveal that he caught a fleeting glimpse of his departed lover.
Watching his client closely, Yu silently wonders if the young man's spiritual senses are awakening due to his shaman ancestry.
Yu warmly comforts the tearful young man, explaining that the peaceful spirit came back one last time to show her gratitude.
Overcome with absolute grief and relief, the innocent client screams his late girlfriend's name as tears pour down his face. Shifting away from the heavy courtroom, the bright sun shines down on a luxurious modern estate belonging to the shaman family.
The grateful family hosts a massive celebration feast for the defense team, filling the entire table with delicious traditional dishes.
The spiky-haired companion greedily stuffs his face with food, loudly declaring it is infinitely better than anything the attorney ever buys him. Feigning offense, the black-haired attorney defends his honor by pointing out he feeds his companion whatever he wants on a daily basis. When his friend complains about a lack of love in his meals, the attorney jokingly threatens to serve him nothing but instant ramen from now on.
The grandmother explains to her startled grandson that the victim's spirit was lingering close to him throughout the high-stakes trial. The client is utterly shocked to learn that his lawyer communicates with spirits while the attorney casually confesses it has helped his career immensely.
The elder shaman explains that her grandson's suppressed spiritual lineage was finally unlocked by the intense trauma of the trial. Glaring across the table, the spiky-haired companion mockingly calls the emotional young man a pathetic little crybaby. Unfazed, the young man smugly retorts that he is not scared of a scowling spirit like him.
The client explains his shaman heritage makes him naturally sensitive to spiritual energy, leaving his spiritual companion completely speechless.
The attorney glances over at the shaman's daughter, realizing that she and her mother had quietly observed the spirits all along. Breaking the ice, the young man turns directly to the spiky-haired spirit and asks for his real name. The spirit explains he once appeared as a terrifying red-eyed vengeful specter before meeting the attorney restored his human form. The grandmother explains that red eyes denote a spirit's deep grudge, gently asking if he remembers his past life.
The companion admits his memories are gone, save for a fatal car crash and the face of the driver.
He philosophically ponders the inevitability of death while contentedly holding another delicious rice ball. Watching him closely, the attorney internally questions what horrific tragedy could have turned such a young soul so vengeful.
The client suddenly changes the mood by eagerly asking the distinguished lawyer to be his friend. The grandmother scolds her grandson for being rude during a meal, though the young man insists he cannot wait. The young man earnestly pleads his case, stating that finding a respectable peer of the same age feels like destiny. The attorney smiles warmly and gladly accepts the offer, sending his new friend into a state of pure ecstasy.
The young man celebrates, while narration notes that his sincere nature makes him fiercely loyal to those he trusts.
The attorney smiles, recognized by the spiritual elders as a noble benefactor destined for great things.
The client reveals his grandmother wants to gift the attorney a luxurious Yongsan apartment, but the ethical lawyer immediately declines. Despite his friend pleading for an exception, the attorney firmly stands his ground, refusing to violate strict criminal defense laws. The attorney looks resolute, refusing to compromise his professional integrity even when offered a fortune. He explains that taking such a massive payout on his very first case would do him far more harm than good. The grandmother beams with immense respect for his character, leaving her grandson wondering how they can properly repay him. Seeing his unwavering honesty, the grandmother smiles and decides to offer an entirely different proposal.
Later on the bustling street, the spiky-haired companion remains completely blown away by the grandmother's incredible wealth. The companion boasts about the lawyer's new role as her official legal advisor, which the attorney accepted to build valuable experience. The companion enthusiastically vouches for the attorney's brilliant potential as they walk back to their office. A sudden chilling purple mist wraps around the hallway as a trembling voice calls out to the lawyer.
A terrified security guard approaches the defense team, completely unaware of the gargantuan, menacing ghost looming right behind him.
The companion sweats in absolute dread, noting that this new spirit looks significantly larger and angrier than the last.
The trembling guard holds out a thick brown envelope, desperately begging the attorney for his guidance. The attorney inspects the legal documents, identifying them as a compulsory auction notice threatening to seize the guard's home. The devastated guard explains his son secretly used their historic ancestral home as business collateral. Looking through the paperwork, the attorney realizes the massive debt completely dwarfs the actual value of the property.
Suddenly, the attorney's eyes widen in sheer shock as he notices a peculiar detail in the photo of the house.
He points out a magnificent ancient pine tree in the yard, which the guard reveals was planted by his great-grandfather. The compassionate lawyer promises to investigate the case, even as the crying guard admits he cannot afford representation. The attorney locks his eyes onto the photograph, sensing a much deeper supernatural mystery hidden within the estate. Seeing the dark aura of despair clinging to the guard, the attorney prepares to dive headfirst into another dangerous spiritual battle. Read it back with a faster speed? Just when his career hangs by a thread, a desperate client appears with an incredibly pure soul as Yu recognizes the guard's rare jade-colored aura.
Deciding to trust his spiritual vision, Yu shocks his companion by agreeing to take the case entirely pro bono.
As they wait by the elevator, Yu reassures the deeply grateful guard that he will thoroughly investigate the documents. His companion complains about wasting valuable billable hours, but the clever attorney views this charitable deed as a strategic future investment. Night falls over the quiet neighborhood as the duo returns home. Heading up the stairwell, Yu plans to finalize his high-paying advisor contract before tackling the guard's case tomorrow.
Suddenly, they spot a mysterious woman in a pink coat desperately struggling to unlock a door in the hallway.
Believing she is heavily intoxicated, the companion suggests helping her, prompting the disheveled woman to suddenly turn around. She slurs a polite greeting, claiming she lives in the building and begging them not to misunderstand her situation.
The attorney awkwardly clarifies that she is standing directly in front of his apartment, leaving her completely stunned.
Mortified, she apologizes profusely and flees, unaware of a sinister presence lurking just around the corner. Watching her go, Yu reflects on the real reason he got this beautiful apartment for such cheap rent. The dark truth is that a notoriously depraved spirit haunts this very hallway. The grotesque, massive ghost drools in excitement as the lone woman runs right into his sight. Lurching out from the shadows, the disgusting specter lunges directly at the unsuspecting woman. Realizing she is in grave danger, Yu frantically yells out to warn her. In a shocking display of agility, the woman effortlessly slips right past the lunging monster. Missing his target completely, the clumsy spirit crashes violently face first into the metal door. The impact leaves the perverted spirit completely dazed and comically flattened against the wall. Safely inside her apartment, she cheerfully bids Yu a good night, as if nothing happened. The defeated ghost lies unconscious on the floor while Yu and his companion stare in disbelief. The companion asks if she somehow avoided the pervert, leaving Yu silently processing her bizarre behavior. The next morning arrives, bringing a fresh start to their high-stakes investigation. Stepping out early, Yu prepares to meet the anxious security guard to discuss the debt. The spiky-haired companion wonders if the attorney is still preoccupied with the mysterious woman from last night. Yu theorizes that the woman purposely dodged the ghost because she possesses the spiritual sight, shocking his companion. Yu quickly brushes the thought aside, wondering if it was merely his overactive imagination. Reviewing the file, he notes the predatory company is nothing more than ruthless loan sharks. Arriving at a local cafe, the relieved guard warmly thanks Yu for taking his case. They step inside the quiet establishment to prepare for the tense confrontation. As they sit down, Yu notices an ancient spirit in traditional clothing standing right behind the guard. Suddenly, an abrasive voice demands to turn up the AC, prompting Yu to brace himself. A heavily built blonde loan shark enters aggressively, demanding to know Yu's identity. Activating his spiritual sight, Yu closely analyzes the newcomer's true nature. He observes a volatile mixture of dark colors representing violence, impatience, and extreme greed. Knowing greedy bullies are easily intimidated by legal authority, Yu calmly suggests they sit down. Seated across the table, the arrogant loan shark insists they followed legal protocol using the son's power of attorney. Yu reviews the documents while the devastated father confirms his stolen identity was used. When Yu inquires about the son's current whereabouts, the guard helplessly admits he has disappeared. Furious at the response, the aggressive loan shark violently slams his hand on the table. He shouts in rage, demanding a real answer regarding the missing debtor. The loan shark screams in absolute fury about people taking massive loans and running away. The rising tension fills the cafe with an oppressive, dark aura of malice. Enraged by the disrespect, the guardian spirit raises his cane to violently strike the loan shark. Yo's companion quickly tackles the furious spirit to prevent him from corrupting his soul. Yo focuses intensely, knowing he must find a hidden legal loophole in the contracts. Yu suddenly questions if the loan sharks ever physically verified the father's identity. He points out they failed to confirm the son's legal authority with the father directly. The loan shark defends their methods, but Yu firmly declares they skipped the most critical legal step. Yu delivers the finishing blow, explaining that their greed caused them to overlook unauthorized agency, rendering the entire contract completely invalid. Caught in a web of illegal debt, the brilliant attorney analyzes the predatory contract with razor-sharp intensity to find a saving loophole. The aggressive blonde loan shark yells in pure confusion, completely out of his depth against complex legal terminology. Revealing his true profession, the attorney's bold declaration leaves the stunned thug absolutely speechless. The intimidating thug demands an explanation of the legal concept, which the lawyer calmly defines as unauthorized agency representation. Yu cites the civil code to invalidate the fraudulent agreement, while the arrogant loan shark tries to pressure them with the ongoing auction. With absolute confidence, Yu details his aggressive legal strategy to halt the forced sale of the guard's home. Sweat pours down the blonde loan shark's face as he desperately bluffs that taking legal action is a total waste of money.
Delivering a powerful ultimatum, the fearless lawyer confidently offers to drag the illegal loan company all the way to court.
Realizing he is legally defeated, the furious thug storms off, threatening to locate the runaway son instead. While the retreating thug continues his angry tirade outside, the spiky-haired companion childishly mocks him to ease the tension. With the immediate threat cleared, the anxious security guard turns to his trusted advisor to ask what their next move should be. The compassionate attorney guarantees the historic ancestral home is safe, but warns that the runaway son will face severe civil and criminal charges. The heartbroken father laments his son's bad decisions, utterly terrified that his boy is headed straight for a prison cell. Overcome by absolute despair and the dread of prison, the devastated guard collapses to his knees, begging Yu for help. To ease the crushing emotional burden of the day, a soothing glass of soju is poured. Sitting at a somber street-side food tent, the sorrowful father unburdens his soul, explaining how his son's failed business dreams ruin their lives. Desperately clinging to happier memories, the proud guard proudly shows the attorney a photo of his handsome, once brilliant son. Looking at the bright face on the phone screen, Yu privately wonders where the runaway youth is currently hiding. Suddenly, Yu's eyes widen in pure shock as he senses an unexpected wave of heavy spiritual pressure. Yo gasps in surprise as the exhausted old man suddenly collapses face first onto the table. Drifting into a heavy, drunken sleep, the passed-out father tearfully mumbles a sorrowful apology to his grandfather. Watching him sleep, the companion notes that the crushing stress of the debt has completely exhausted the poor man. The companion suddenly points in sheer terror, alerting you to bizarre dark droplets dripping down from above. The colossal guardian spirit beats his chest in absolute agony, crying tears of spiritual blood as you promises to help. Looking at the heartbreaking scene, the companion internally laments the immense chaos caused by a single irresponsible son. Knowing they have done all they can for the night, you decides to escort the unconscious elder back home. The busy high-stakes day officially draws to a close under the quiet starry night sky. Arriving at the historic ancestral estate, Yu gently carries the sleeping elder inside to rest. Inside the quiet, traditional bedroom, the worried grandmother sighs in deep sorrow over her sleeping husband. The grateful elderly woman apologizes profusely for the trouble, but the compassionate lawyer warmly puts her mind at ease. Though she kindly offers him a room to stay the night, Yu politely declines and prepares to return to the city. Yo pauses to ask about the magnificent tree in the yard, which she proudly reveals is over a century old. Standing in the quiet yard, the young attorney gazes up in pure awe at the towering, magnificent pine tree. With his good deed completed, the polite young attorney bows respectfully to the grandmother and takes his leave. The white taxi speeds away into the dark night, carrying Yu back to his apartment building. Standing quietly from the shadows of the ancient pine tree, the guardian spirit watches the noble lawyer depart. The scene shifts to Yu's sleek, modern apartment building as morning dawns. In the quiet hallway, the mysterious dark-haired neighbor stands completely puzzled by a massive, heavy potted plant. Spotting the young attorney, the cheerful woman warmly greets him, instantly catching him off guard. She hints at having seen him before, teasingly reminding him of her chaotic, drunken state from the previous night. Realization strikes her like lightning as she happily confirms he is indeed the handsome neighbor next door. Yo chuckles awkwardly at being called a mister, silently noting that they are probably of similar age. Watching her hilariously struggle to lift the massive plant, Yu contemplates offering a helping hand. Easily hoisting the heavy pot, the helpful attorney receives a flood of enthusiastic praise and a playful new nickname. Carrying the heavy load up the stairs, Yu inquires about the exotic species of the peculiar plant. Sensing a strange phenomenon, Yu's eyes sharpen as he detects an incredibly intense, dark spiritual aura swirling around the plant. Looking closer, the young attorney is struck with even greater shock by the mysterious woman's own spiritual presence. An extraordinary warm rainbow aura envelops the woman, a majestic phenomenon Yu has never witnessed in his life. As they walk, Yu desperately tries to figure out her true identity, remembering her uncanny agility against the hallway specter. Flashing a bright smile, the mysterious neighbor invites the handsome lawyer deep inside her home, leaving him completely stunned. Stepping straight into the unknown, the polite attorney carries a massive, mysterious plant deep into his chaotic neighbor's apartment, asking her where to place the heavy load. With a dull thud, the heavy planter is finally set down, settling firmly onto the apartment floor. Looking around the foliage-filled room, Yu notes her extensive collection while she explains she typically only grows small succulents. Examining the rare leaves, the spiky-haired companion remarks on its high cost while the neighbor reveals she received it as an incredibly precious gift. Gratefully promising to buy him a delicious meal to repay his kindness, her bright offer leaves the quiet lawyer completely stunned. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of inspiration hits Yu as he realizes that a valuable plant is the ultimate solution to pay off the crushing debt. Exploding with sudden excitement, Yu enthusiastically celebrates finding the loophole, completely baffling his confused neighbor. Politely bidding her farewell, the ecstatic attorney rushes out of the apartment as she tries to thank him one last time. Returning to the historic countryside estate, Yu presents the magnificent century-old pine tree to a professional appraiser. The appraiser closely inspects the rare single-leaf pine, confidently estimating a high price that shocks the surrounding group. Suddenly, an aggressive spiritual growl echoes from the tree, demanding they leave immediately and sending shivers down Yu's spine. Visualizing the source of the noise, Yu's spiritual sight reveals a massive glowing eye of absolute wrath, warning them of dire consequences. The furious ancestral spirit threatens to end their lives as the massive pine tree begins to surge with violent red energy. Unaware of the spirit, the delighted appraiser informs the relieved security guard and his wife that the tree will easily cover their debt. The ecstatic security guard eagerly calls out to the lawyer, completely unaware of the raging entity looming right beside him. In a fit of absolute rage, the ancient spirit unleashes a powerful shockwave to repel the humans from its resting place. The sudden blast of spiritual energy violently knocks the helpless security guard backward as his terrified wife screams in horror. Stepping forward immediately, the lawyer and his companion brace themselves to confront the raging spirit. Leaping to the defense, Yu's companion frantically warns the guardian spirit that harming humans will corrupt its soul and make it disappear forever. The ancient spirit mocks their warning, declaring it has seen many of their kind over the last 100 years before demanding they be gone. Yu desperately reasons with the entity, explaining that selling the tree is the only way to save its descendants and bring them happiness. The stubborn spirit refuses to listen, causing the lawyer's companion to complain about how impossibly difficult the old ancestor is. Realizing the spirit is on the verge of corruption, Yu reluctantly prepares to use a powerful exorcism technique to erase him. Just as Yu readies his decisive strike, the desperate voice of the security guard suddenly interrupts the tense standoff. Dropping to his knees, the tearful guard desperately addresses the raging spirit as his own beloved great-grandfather. Bowing deeply on the ground, the heartbroken guard takes full responsibility for his son's actions and begs the elders for forgiveness. Crying bitterly, the devastated father explains that sacrificing the precious ancestral tree is his only hope to save his son from a prison cell. Within the glowing bark of the pine tree, the massive eye of the ancestor suddenly softens upon recognizing his own beloved grandson, Ilnam. A heartwarming flashback reveals a young, innocent Ilnam happily touching the newly planted tree alongside his loving grandfather. The old family memories fled back, showing how the great-grandfather had lovingly planted the tree to watch over the boy's growth. The smiling ancestor had warmly wished for young Ilnam to grow as strong, magnificent, and resilient as the pine tree itself. The bright-eyed child had laughed joyfully, expressing his pure admiration for the towering tree and his beloved great-grandfather. Back in the painful present, the weeping guard bows his head, deeply apologizing for failing his ancestors' high hopes. Moved by his grandson's pure desperation and endless tears, the great-grandfather's glowing eye slowly closes and fades back into the wood. Yu watches in pure silence, deeply moved by the emotional resolution between the living and the dead. The guard looks up in confusion to see if his ancestor is truly departed, while Yu gently places his hand on the silent tree. Yu calmly explains that the ancestor has gone to rest inside the tree, privately realizing he had underestimated the spirit's deep familial love. The young lawyer looks deeply concerned, sweating as he realizes the spirit's eternal bond with the tree will make moving on incredibly difficult. Suddenly, the guard's phone rings, and he gasps in shock as he reveals his runaway son is finally calling. Reacting instantly, Yu commands his client to answer the phone and put it on speaker so they can trace him. The arrogant son demands to know his father's location, casually asking if the family home has been sold yet to cover his mess. Overcome with rage, the security guard screams at his irresponsible son for letting their ancestral home go to auction. Mocking their desperation, the ungrateful son insults his parents and abruptly hangs up the call, leaving Yu and his companion furious. Yo turns to the weeping parents, asking if they have any clue where the runaway debtor might be hiding. The guard is stunned to learn his wife is secretly kept in contact with their son, who had begged her to keep his location a secret. Moving quickly, the determined attorney asks the wife to provide the exact address of the girlfriend's apartment. Instructing the guard to handle the appraiser once he wakes up, Yu prepares to hunt down the runaway son. Speeding down the road in a white taxi, Yu's companion questions if such an irresponsible brat is even worth saving. Yo firmly explains that losing a son would completely destroy the elderly guard, prompting his companion to ask why he works so hard for free. Recalling the wise words of a homeless fortune teller, Yu smiles, confident that doing selfless deeds will bring its own special blessings. Behind the wheel of a moving vehicle, Yu firmly reminds his quiet, brown-haired companion that his path in law has a far deeper purpose than mere profit. Gaining clear resolve, the noble lawyer looks ahead as he declares that his true mission was never about making easy money. Overhearing the conversation, the friendly taxi driver warmly praises Yu's integrity, leaving the attorney awkwardly thanking him as he realizes he was talking to himself. The scene shifts to a quiet brick-walled neighborhood alley, where a dangerous confrontation is about to unfold. Paralyzed by absolute terror, the runaway son cautiously looks around a brick corner to see if his relentless pursuers have finally lost him. Leaning against the wall, the trembling, curly-haired young man sighs in relief, desperately wondering why they chased him all this way. Wearing a smug grin, the irresponsible debtor mutters that he already warned them to never show their faces around him again. Suddenly, a powerful, calloused hand violently clamps down on his head, shattering his brief moment of safety with a terrifying reminder of his unpaid debt. The slick-haired loan shark boss drags him into a crushing headlock, mocking his foolish belief that they would just disappear. With brutal force, the thugs ruthlessly throw the helpless debtor flat onto the hard pavement. Trembling in pure terror, the cornered runaway desperately begs the menacing loan shark boss to spare his life. Cornered and desperate, the ungrateful son pleads for one final chance, promising to force his father to sell the family's ancestral home to pay him back. Without a word of mercy, a devastating strike slaps across the debtor's face, silencing his cowardly bargaining. Towering over him, the ruthless loan shark boss scoffs, revealing they already visited his father only to be laughed out of the house. Turning to his heavy-hitting henchmen, the cold-blooded boss orders them to rough up the deadbeat and drag him back to their office. Just as the thugs prepare to inflict serious harm, an authoritative voice rings out, demanding they stop their assault immediately. Yo calmly steps forward, warning the criminals that hauling the young man away constitutes kidnapping and illegal confinement. Unfazed by the legal threat, the arrogant boss orders his red-haired thug, Chang-sik, to violently rough up the meddling attorney. Chang-sik hurls a heavy punch, but the young lawyer swiftly blocks his strike with effortless precision. Utilizing his supernatural aura vision, Yu pinpoints a glaring physical weakness in the thug's shoulder and seizes it in a firm grip. With a swift and agonizing twist, Yu pops the thug's vulnerable shoulder out of place, sending him screaming in sheer agony. Holding the writhing thug in place, Yu casts a chilling gaze at the boss, asking if he should permanently disable his companion's arm. Seeing his partner defeated, the aggressive black-haired thug pulls a knife and charges wildly at the attorney. Yu remains completely unfazed, his fierce, determined eyes locking onto his new assailant. In a seamless, lightning-fast maneuver, the skilled attorney effortlessly flips both thugs to the ground. The two groaning heavyweights crash heavily onto the pavement, completely neutralized in a matter of seconds. Yo stands tall over the defeated thugs, calmly reminding them that they were the ones who boasted this alley was a perfect blind spot. Reaching into his suit pocket, the polished attorney presents his official business card, identifying himself as Yu Hyun-jae. Showing no fear, Yu faces the loan shark boss and offers to personally settle the runaway son's debt. With absolute authority, Yu demands the boss collect the full payment at his office in 1 week, calling an end to the street brawl. Frustrated by the sudden intervention, the intimidating boss reluctantly retreats with his groaning men, warning that he will claim the debtor's organs if the money is late. Yu watches the criminals slip away into the shadows, deeply disgusted by their horrific criminal threats. Still sprawled on the ground, the ungrateful son complains, questioning how Yu suddenly acquired the funds to settle his family's debt. Fed up with his pathetic attitude, the attorney grabs the coward tightly by his collar, cutting off his whining. Yo looks him dead in the eye, sternly explaining that he is only saving him because he pities his loving father, not him. The lawyer delivers a brutal reality check, spelling out the gruesome end the runaway would have faced had he not intervened. Tightening his grip, the commanding lawyer demands absolute, unquestioning obedience from the young man going forward. Yo's intense, unwavering gaze leaves the spoiled runaway utterly paralyzed with fear. Returning to the countryside estate, the tearful son kneels before the majestic ancestral pine tree, weeping as he begs his great-grandfather's spirit for forgiveness. Alongside his son, the heartbroken security guard bows and tearfully promises to protect the family home until the very end if the spirit helps them just this once. The guard turns to yell at his ungrateful son, demanding he show proper respect to the elder whose sacrifice is saving them from ruin. The guard continues to scold his tearful son, furiously highlighting his absolute audacity in pawning off the historic home for a debt. Deep within the ancient bark of the pine tree, a massive glowing red eye of the ancestor watches the family's painful reconciliation. The sobbing son tries to defend himself, crying out that he had no other option when the ruthless loan sharks threatened his life. A solemn flashback begins, showing a rustic metal shovel slicing into the dry earth. Decades ago, the loving great-grandfather stands with a young, innocent Ilnam, proudly explaining the effort it took to secure a precious pine sapling. Pointing to the small, fragile tree, the smiling patriarch warmly declares that this tree will grow strong to protect and provide shade for the entire family. Back in the spiritual realm, the ancestor's voice echoes with deep realization, accepting that he must serve as the protective shade for his struggling descendants. Moved by his grandson's desperation, the spirit softly reminds himself that they are his own flesh and blood after all. Feeling a warm, supernatural energy wash over the trunk, Yu gently places his hand on the glowing tree, sensing the ancestral guardian's ultimate loving blessing. Under the massive ancestral pine, the security guard looks up in sheer disbelief, desperately asking how Yu was able to perceive his ancestor's lingering spirit. Laughing off his supernatural sight with a joke about family shamans, Yu warmly reassures the weeping parents that their massive debts will soon be resolved and their son will finally be free. As the lawyers walk away, the ancestor spirit takes his place directly on his spoiled great-grandson's shoulders, vowing to monitor his every move so he never screws up again, leaving the boy groaning under an invisible, crushing weight. The ungrateful son tries to whine to his father once more, only for the ancestor's ghost to violently choke him mid-sentence, ensuring the boy receives the ultimate spiritual discipline. Under the blanket of a quiet city night, a tender conversation begins as Yu apologizes to his mother for being too busy to visit her lately. Inside their warm kitchen, Yu urges his hardworking mother to finally close up her restaurant and rest, but she proudly deflects, claiming her body gets restless without hard work. Sensing a hidden burden beneath her warm exterior, the young lawyer gently asks if something is wrong at home, noting her unusually somber tone during their last phone call. The kitchen falls into a heavy, suffocating silence as the mother looks down, unable to find the words to speak. Shaking off her hesitation, she softly asks her son to review a crucial document she has kept hidden for years. She slides a thick, worn brown folder across the dinner table, explaining she saved these mysterious documents until the day he finally became a qualified attorney. Opening the worn folder, Yu's eyes widen as he realizes these are the official trial records and evidence collected by his late father before his tragic demise. Tears well in his mother's eyes as she confesses that the memory of her husband's tragic struggle remains as vivid as ever. Looking at her folded hands, she laments the unimaginable desperation that drove his father to make such a devastating final choice. A burning fire of resolve ignites in Yu's eyes as he stares down at the records, knowing his destiny is calling. With a trembling voice, she declares that clearing her late husband's name is the single wish she wants fulfilled before she dies. Haunted by the memory of his father's agonizing final moments, Yu vows to end his past resentment and use these records to prove to the world that his father was never an embezzler. Suddenly, the solemn atmosphere is shattered by a loud crash as the front door flies open. Rushing into the apartment with boundless energy, Yu's vibrant younger sister, Yanhui, joyfully screams out to welcome her beloved older brother. Yanhui aggressively hugs her brother, complaining about his long absence, while Yu playfully tells her to cut him some slack since he kept in touch. Their mother interrupts the sibling banter, asking Yanhui to deliver freshly made kimchi pancakes to a neighbor named Donghun, prompting Yanhui to reveal she already stopped by and noticed he was starving. Curious about the unfamiliar name, Yu asks who Donghun is, only for his mother to reveal a tragic tale of a young boy whose mother recently passed away and whose father has lost his sanity. With a grim expression, Yanhui explains that the father sits completely motionless in a pitch-black room all day, entirely unresponsive to his young son's calls. When Yu suggests contacting social services, Yanhui frustrates him by explaining that the father miraculously acts completely normal the moment a social worker arrives. While Yu's supernatural companion casually munches on a pancake, he whispers a chilling suggestion, wondering if the father's bizarre behavior is actually the work of a malevolent spirit. Though Yu believes this is a clear case for the authorities, Yanhui explains that the terrified boy begged her not to call the police, insisting his father is still a good man. Driven by his noble protective instincts, Yu stands up and decides to personally investigate the boy's home, earning a joyful cheer from his sister. As they prepare to step out into the cold night, Yu insists he is only tag along to protect his sister in the dark, though his mind is already focused on the spiritual threat. Walking down the dark steps, the companion questions if the sister is meddling too much, but Yu explains that her kindness is unmatched and he cannot let her walk into a potentially haunted house alone. Arriving at the quiet apartment building, Yanhui firmly presses the doorbell, breaking the tense silence of the corridor. Standing outside the rusted door, Yanhui calls out for the boy, assuring a skeptical Yu that the child is home, but simply takes time to answer. The heavy door slowly creaks open, revealing the young, disheveled boy who looks up in surprise to see his favorite neighborhood sister. Revealing a face covered in mysterious dirt and bruises, the starving child quietly thanks Yanhui as she hands him the fresh food. As Yanhui cheerfully praises her mother's famous cooking, the boy's eyes drift to the towering, sharply dressed stranger standing right behind her. To ease the child's obvious fear, Yu raises his hand with a warm, gentle smile, introducing himself as Yanhui's older brother. Stooping down to the boy's level, Yu kindly explains that he is a lawyer dedicated to helping people who are going through extremely difficult times. Instantly, a terrifying, rage-filled roar echoes from deep inside the apartment, freezing all three of them in absolute terror. Watching the trembling child, Yu's supernatural vision reveals that the boy's natural spiritual energy is being completely choked out by a dark, oppressive cloud of pure anxiety. A cold anger washes over the attorney as he wonders what horrific ordeal this innocent child has been forced to endure. Making up his mind, Yu takes a firm, decisive step forward, calling out the boy's name to get his attention. Crouching down, Yu gently asks the boy if he can go inside and speak with his father, prompting a nervous and confused reply from the child. Flashing a deeply reassuring, warm smile, Yu promises the boy that if they talk properly, he might be able to bring his old father back to normal. A faint glimmer of hope returns to the young boy's eyes as he asks if his father can truly be saved. Stepping into the eerie darkness of the entryway, Yu quietly asks if the lights have been kept off solely because of his father's orders. The boy confirms the disturbing truth, whispering that his father flies into a violent rage whenever the lights are turned on. Yu calmly tells the boy to turn the lights on anyway, promising to handle any anger his father might throw their way. Trembling, the boy reluctantly reaches his hand out toward the wall and flips the switch. As the light floods the room, it reveals a shocking, stomach-churning scene of an apartment completely buried under mountains of rotting garbage. Pinching his nose in absolute disgust, the companion warns that the air reeks of death itself, confirming Yu's darkest fears that a powerful, evil spiritual entity is lurking nearby. Steeling his nerves, the brave lawyer slowly slides open the door to the father's pitch-black room, politely calling out for him. But instead of a grieving father, a blood-curdling, murderous threat screeches from the darkness, warning that he should have slaughtered the young boy long ago. A sinister battle for dominance erupts as multiple spirits scream to consume their host. The terrified father grins maniacally, completely possessed by a dark, supernatural force. Hyunjae watches in horror as he realizes the father is possessed by multiple spirits. The companion assesses the chaotic aura, estimating at least 5 entities are trapped inside.
They spot another quiet spirit sitting nearby, apparently refusing to join the chaotic possession.
The silent female ghost suddenly gags in pain, clutching her throat in visible agony.
The companion recoils in disgust as the female spirit violently expels black fluid. A hostile shout cuts through the tense silence, demanding to know who they are.
The possessed father lunges forward, his multiple internal entities arguing over consuming the boy.
Hyunjae physically restrains the thrashing man, desperately pleading with him to snap out of it.
Warned about his son's danger, the father violently vomits, temporarily breaking the possession. Recovering his senses, the weakened father asks who they are, and Hyunjae introduces himself. The immediate threat neutralized, the apartment lights are switched back on, revealing the wreckage.
The father reacts in confusion upon recognizing Yeonhui standing in the doorway. The sudden light triggers another fit of madness as the father threatens to kill them.
His murderous fury suddenly freezes as he locks eyes with someone standing behind them.
Terrified, young Dong-hun clings to Yeonhui, whimpering that his father is acting strange.
Yeonhui steps forward protectively, introducing herself to de-escalate the terrifying confrontation. She explains how her family noticed the boy was starving and began feeding him. Yeonhui tearfully laments that a child should never live in fear of their parent. The weeping father confesses his lack of control, while Hyunjae warns of impending tragedy.
Hyunjae promises to find a cure, asking to care for Dong-hun in the meantime. Guiding Dong-hun outside, the companion questions the safety of leaving the father alone. Hyunjae notes that despite the father's violent madness, Dong-hun had no injuries. He deduces the mother's protective spirit has been shielding the boy from any harm.
The scene shifts to a warm environment as they bring Dong-hun to safety.
Surrounded by delicious food in the kitchen, the starving boy is warmly welcomed.
Hyunjae makes a phone call to a powerful contact, asking to return a favor.
He requests help with a severe possession, and his contact promises a rookie shaman. Finally feeling safe, the exhausted young boy collapses into a deep, peaceful sleep.
Yeonhui drops a somber revelation, sharing that Dong-hun's mother tragically took her life. The atmosphere grows heavy as Hyunjae gently asks how the tragedy occurred.
Hearing she swallowed corrosive poison, Hyunjae realizes why her ghost was vomiting black fluid. Moved by Yeonhui's tears, Hyunjae vows to resolve this haunting once and for all.
The next day, a flashy red luxury sports car arrives on the scene.
A stylish young shaman steps out, confidently brushing off warnings about his first exorcism.
The arrogant shaman brags about his awakened spiritual sight and his legendary grandmother's initiation.
Hearing the rookie shamans boasting from inside, Hyunjae feels a wave of uncertainty. The young attorney silently worries if the eccentric rookie can truly handle this threat. The group enters the gloomy building, ready to confront the dark spirits waiting upstairs. The shaman lays out his ritual tools, sensing the massive crowd of malevolent spirits. The father lies down anxiously, told to remain completely still for the dangerous ritual. Wearing his vibrant traditional robes, the shaman confidently reassures his terrified patient. Watching from the door, the companions question if the rookie can handle this alone. They reveal the simple-minded rookie is desperate to prove himself to his legendary grandmother. Glaring sharply, the shaman proudly declares his lineage before beginning the intense exorcism. With a final confident warning, he shuts the door to face the demons alone. Looking at the trash-filled room, the companion asks if all possessed people wreck their homes. Hyunjae explains spiritual behavior, but realizes the mother's protective ghost has suddenly vanished. Sensing a sudden shift in the air, Hyunjae cautiously peeks through the sliding door. A chilling laugh echoes from the darkness as a malevolent spirit mocks the foolish little rookie shaman attempting an exorcism. Sensing immediate danger, Hyunjae violently kicks the door open, calling out desperately for the rookie shaman, Gijin. Inside the room, a grotesque, possessed face breaks into a maniacal grin, licking its lips with anticipation. The completely possessed Gijin pins the struggling father down, ordering him to stay still while the dark entity takes full control. As a hand suddenly grabs his shoulder, the sinister spirit inside Gijin flashes a creepy, wide-eyed smile. Hyunjae grabbed the rookie by his collar, demanding he snap out of his trance and perform the exorcism he came for. Shockingly, the flirtatious spirit inside the young shaman merely giggles, calling Hyunjae handsome while leaving the attorney completely stunned. The possessed rookie licks Hyunjae's arm, shamelessly confessing that the firm-armed lawyer is exactly her type. Realizing the spirit has hijacked the young shaman's body, the female shaman commands the attorney to step back. A massive legendary warrior spirit in red armor manifests behind her, roaring in absolute fury. The divine protector berates the rookie for his utter incompetence in letting a stray spirit possess his body. The ancient deity questions how he can call himself a legendary shaman's grandson after such a pathetic failure. Still completely possessed, the rookie shaman nonchalantly waves her off, rudely telling the woman to get lost. Refusing to tolerate his disrespect, the female shaman delivers a crushing, lightning-fast punch to his jaw. The sheer force of the blow sends the rookie shaman flying across the messy room in absolute agony.
Standing over him with her towering guardian, the female shaman demands he snap out of his embarrassing possession.
With a bloody nose, the stubborn, malevolent spirit inside Jijin screams that it won't give up this prize easily.
She answers his defiance with a brutal slap, furiously scolding him to pray properly next time. Delivering another harsh slap, she berates him for disgracing his sacred god and fooling around during an exorcism. Hinju watches the chaotic physical discipline in disbelief, realizing the rookie has completely ruined his very first mission. Looking at the unconscious father, the attorney worries that without the mother's protective spirit, nothing can stop the demons inside. Beaten back to his senses, the terrified rookie shaman begs the female shaman to stop the physical assault. Gijin rubs a swollen cheek, claiming a stray female ghost cut in line during his ritual, earning another sharp lecture. Suddenly, the malevolent spirit escapes Jijin's body and tries to flee, desperate to avoid annihilation. But a powerful hand halts the fleeing spirit by its dark hair, dragging it back into the chaos. The father, fully possessed by a core demon, crushes the fleeing spirit, terrifying the onlookers with his colossal power. The dominant entity maniacally devours the weaker spirit, mocking the amateur shamans and challenging them to a real fight. A cold dread washes over Hyunjae as he realizes the ultimate evil has taken absolute control of the father. An overwhelming wave of dark energy erupts, threatening to consume the entire room and everyone inside. Assessing the massive threat, the female shaman warns that they must combine both of their guardian spirits to survive. Stealing his resolve, Gijin begins chanting to invoke his guardian spirits, his spiritual aura flaring outward. A stunning female deity manifests in a flash of light, mildly complaining about only being summoned for troublesome tasks. Floating behind her chosen vessel, the glamorous goddess admits the lawyer is her type, but hates how he behaves. The companion bursts out laughing at the ridiculous bickering, only for Hyunjae to warn him about disrespecting the divine. The possessed father charges like a beast, but the glamorous deity remains calm, mocking his lack of manners. With a sharp crack, the deity delivers a swift blow right to the father's forehead with her wooden fan. Standing victoriously over the pinned father, the deity demands to know where he thinks he's putting his filthy hands. The father screams in pure agony as a glowing red mark burns deep into his forehead. Seizing the perfect opening, Jijin prepares to use his sacred brass rods to seal the demonic force. He pins the screaming father down with the crossed rods, channeling intense spiritual energy into the host. Backed by her armored guardian, the female shaman begins chanting her powerful banishment mantras. The two shamans channel their combined forces, casting a massive, glowing purification spell over the struggling man. The absolute agony of the ritual forces the core evil spirit to scream in desperation, begging them to stop. The blinding spiritual light completely engulfs the room, creating an overwhelming, deafening aura of pure purification. The demonic entity writhing inside the father cries out in terror as the banishment reaches its climax. Black, shadowy specters scream in denial as they are forcibly dragged out of the father's mouth. The dark souls desperately cling to the physical realm, screaming that the body belongs to them. Hyunjae watches with bated breath, realizing they have finally reached the very last evil spirit. Face to face with the final mastermind, the female shaman coolly asks if she is the one acting as their boss. The sinister dark deity snarls back, claiming to be a god of all things, setting the stage for a final showdown. A sinister demonic force sneers in mocking defiance, scoffing at the shaman's claim of being divine protectors. With a decisive strike, the rookie shaman banishes the screaming spirit, exposing it as a low-level ghost occupying a stolen body. Standing victoriously, the rookie shaman promises divine judgment from the 10 kings of hell, while the cornered spirit begs for mercy. As the father lies asleep, the defeated spirit confesses that a cursed charm cast by another shaman forced it inside. The companions demand to know who commissioned the curse, but the spirit claims ignorance as they realize a dark plot is at play. When asked if it killed the boy's mother, the trembling spirit admits she was too weak to endure the curse and took her own life. The spirit begs for mercy, claiming it was merely drawn to a common object, but the female shaman furiously scolds its denial. With cold determination, the female shaman commands the screaming demon to go to hell as she purges its lingering darkness. Finally waking up free of possession, the dazed father asks the companions if the horrific ordeal is truly over. The handsome attorney gently reassures the relieved father that the shamans have successfully resolved the haunting. In the messy kitchen, the young shamans bicker over their methods while the father expresses his deep gratitude from afar. The lawyer asks the father about any cursed object in his shop, triggering a sudden, horrifying realization in the man. The father begins recounting his tragic past, explaining how his successful chicken shop suddenly became plagued by bizarre occurrences. In a grim flashback, the hardworking husband receives another terrifying phone call reporting a sudden, unexplained delivery accident. He explains how a series of bizarre motorcycle crashes plagued their deliveries, forcing terrified riders to avoid his business. Even cooking became impossible as the meat refused to cook through, resulting in constant, devastating refunds. As the empty restaurant stands silent, he laments how even their most loyal regulars stopped visiting. Amidst the financial ruin, the concerned husband notices his exhausted wife looking increasingly pale and sick.
He points out her bleeding nose as she weakly confesses that her health has been rapidly failing.
Horror strikes as his wife suddenly collapses to the floor, her eyes rolling back in a terrifying fit. Kneeling on the empty restaurant's floor, the frantic husband cries out as his wife's health deteriorates completely. Following her collapse, the husband explains how she began losing her mind and acting in increasingly bizarre ways. In a shocking turn of events, his wife suddenly attacks him in bed with a kitchen knife. Wrestling her hands back, the terrified husband demands to know what she was doing, but she snaps back to her senses, completely confused. Returning home late after work one night, the husband is greeted by an eerie, pitch-black apartment. He recalls the tragic discovery of his wife's lifeless body, dead from drinking a highly corrosive poison. Back in the present, the devastated father explains how he began blacking out after her death, terrified of what he might have done to their son. Listening to the tragic story, the attorney realizes the unnatural, heartbreaking sequence of events that ruined the family. Determined to uncover the root cause, the young attorney proposes that they investigate the father's chicken shop together. The group stands outside the closed fried chicken shop, ready to confront whatever dark power lies within. Entering the empty restaurant, the shamans immediately detect a thick, suffocating aura of death lingering inside. When the attorney questions his whistling, the curly-haired shaman explains that the sound perks up ghosts, though it mostly just annoys his coworkers. Guided by the dark, smoky energy, the young shaman successfully locates the cursed object's hiding place. He pulls out an unrecognized parcel, but the father confirms he never left any packages in the kitchen. The shaman explains that the contents of the package act as deliberate bait designed to lure in malevolent spirits. Opening the box reveals a horrifying straw doll pinned with a metal nail and surrounded by yellow cursed talismans. Stunned by the discovery, the father reveals he has someone specific in mind who could have placed the curse. He explains how a rival businessman opened a slow Chinese restaurant next door and immediately showed hostility. Despite the rivalry, the generous father lent the desperate neighbor 10 million won when he fell into deep debt. But after that loan, the rival's business miraculously flourished, while the father's shop was suddenly plagued by accidents. He recalls how the rival kept stalling on repayment, showing no concern even when his wife fell terminally ill. The father asks if he can sue the neighbor, but the attorney warns that casting a curse is not recognized as a crime by law. The attorney asks if the loan was made by cash or bank transfer, and the father confirms it was documented. He further questions if there are any written text or voice recordings requesting the money back. Having proof of the debt, the attorney plans to file a fraud complaint using criminal charges to force the neighbor to pay. While the lawyer handles the legal battle, the female shaman plans to send the curse back to the rival's hired shaman. The shamans warn that rebounding a curse back makes it even stronger, promising absolute ruin for the receiving client. Though the father worries if it is okay, the shaman replies that the perpetrators accepted the consequences when they cast the curse. The attorney comforts the grieving man, reassuring him that the true wrongdoers are the ones who will pay. Deeply grateful, the father vows to get his life back in order so he can finally pick up his young son. With the dark spirit finally banished, Yan Hui bids a warm farewell to little Dong Hun, promising him he can visit her anytime. Suddenly, the brown-haired companion gasps in shock as he notices a mysterious figure standing right next to the father and son. Looking closer, Hyunji softly reveals the identity of the ghostly figure, identifying her as Dong Hun's departed mother. As the family walks away together, Yen-hee sadly explains that spirits of suicide victims linger to protect their loved ones. The mother's gentle ghost bows in silent gratitude, her fading energy entirely dedicated to shielding her family from darkness. Overwhelmed with emotion, the pink-hooded shaman tears up and thanks Hyunjae for helping her save this broken family. Back in his room, Hyunjae stares at a wrapped package, lamenting how his busy father left him so few childhood memories. He bitterly recalls how their paths only ever crossed briefly at the front door before his father's sudden death. Determined to uncover the truth, he admits his deep-seated desire to finally understand the mysterious man his father truly was. Unwrapping the mysterious package at his desk, the young attorney wonders what final message his father desperately wanted to leave behind. Reading through the dusty files, he discovers his father's former company, Baco Motors, collapsed into receivership years ago. The grim documents reveal his father was wrongfully sued for embezzlement by none other than the monstrous Taeyong law firm. Horror strikes as Hyunjae reads the name of the powerful firm, realizing a massive corporate conspiracy ruined his family. Time passes in a quiet blur as the young attorney prepares to confront the ghosts of his past. He discovers that Taeyong's managing partner, Han Guyong, personally orchestrated the devastating lawsuit that destroyed his father. Staring at the prominent law firm's official logo, he realizes his father never stood a chance against such a legal titan. Suddenly, Hyunjae's eyes widen in absolute shock as he spots an incredibly familiar name hidden deep within the trial records. The records identify attorney Shin Young-jin as his father's defense lawyer, who suspiciously joined Taeyong immediately after the trial. Clutching the files, he realizes the betrayal. His father's own lawyer was recruited by the enemy the exact year his father died. Examining the old business card, he notes that, while not technically illegal, the entire setup reeks of a sinister corporate setup. With fire burning in his eyes, the young attorney resolves to dig deep into this decades-old conspiracy no matter the cost. The next morning, the curly-haired shaman remarks on his exhausted state, teasing him about working a notoriously difficult job. In the busy hallway, a frantic attorney named Attorney Park suddenly rushes up to Hyunjae, calling out his name. Looking desperate, Attorney Park begs Hyunjae to cover an urgent court hearing for him at the Ansan District Court today. The older attorney promises a quick bank transfer and explains that his chaotic schedule keeps him constantly on the run. Sensing a righteous and driven energy from the man, Hyunjae politely accepts the sudden request.
Attorney Park waves in immense relief as he rushes off, while the curly-haired companion watches with crossed arms.
When the companion asks why he is doing extra favors, Hyunjae explains that helping a righteous colleague is always worth it. The scene shifts to the towering modern structure of the courthouse baking under the bright morning sun. Inside the bustling cafeteria, the energetic companion marvels at the delicious food while Hyunjae tells him to focus on work. Hearing a familiar voice, a clean-cut attorney turning around at a nearby table recognizes the young lawyer. The friendly attorney waves in surprise, expressing his delight at running into Hyunjae at the courthouse cafeteria today. Hyunjae recalls his middle school friend Lee Songjae, who ironically was the one who introduced him to Taeyong. The companion immediately remembers Songjae as the arrogant brag who rubbed his Taeyong acceptance in Hyunjae's face. Sangjae takes a smug sip of his coffee, completely unaware of the companion's annoyance. Sitting on a bench outside, Sangjae asks how life is treating him at Taeyong, and Hyunjae downplays his position. Sangjae reveals that other seniors at the firm were incredibly jealous of Hyunjae scoring his own cases so quickly. He then eagerly asks if marriage agencies are spamming his phone yet or if he has a girlfriend. When Sangjae confesses he has his eyes on someone special, Hyunjae jokingly warns that it already sounds like trouble. Sangjae boasts that his target is the managing partner's youngest daughter, a beautiful woman holding a coffee cup nearby. He laments how he managed to get her number, but she stubbornly refuses to reply to any of his texts. Suddenly, the beautiful woman in the pink suit approaches their bench, catching them completely off guard. Sangjae jumps up in absolute shock, frantically stuttering a polite greeting to the managing partner's daughter. Ignoring Sangjae's panic, the elegant woman turns to Hyunjae and introduces herself as Han Soo-jin, his next-door neighbor. Smiling warmly, Hyunjae shakes her hand and introduces himself, surprised to learn she is also a lawyer. As Hyunjae casually asks how her tree is growing, Sangjae's jaw drops in utter disbelief at their unexpected connection. Trying to save face, Sangjae quickly reintroduces himself as a fellow Taeyong lawyer, hoping to make an impression. Han Soo-jin coolly acknowledges his face but dryly points out that she never picks up his desperate phone calls. With a bright, mocking smile, the beautiful lawyer boldly declares she never answers calls from people she doesn't need to. She waves a cheerful goodbye and walks away, leaving an utterly defeated Sangjae frozen in humiliation as the plot thickens. A shocking connection with the managing partner's daughter turns a smug rival's world completely upside down. Demanding to know how they are connected, the slick-haired lawyer confronts Hyunjae, who simply brushes him off and makes his way inside. Left alone on the pavement, the jealous rival seethes with rage, unable to comprehend how someone he considers beneath him could be close to the firm's most elite heiress. Night falls over the city as Hyunjae returns to his apartment complex, pleasantly surprised to finish his work ahead of schedule. As they climb the stairs, his energetic companion excitedly suggests a quick dinner of fried chicken, but Hyunjae insists they finally eat a proper meal. Suddenly, they spot their neighbor struggling with a massive box overflowing with trash, prompting Hyunjae to warn her to be careful. It turns out to be the beautiful attorney Soo-jin, who is visibly startled to see her neighbors returning home so early in the evening. Confirming it is recycling day, she exhaustedly scraps together her remaining strength to carry the heavy load, but the box is dangerously unstable. In a split second, the bottom of the box gives way, sending dozens of empty beer cans clattering across the hallway floor in an embarrassing deluge. Stunned by the mountain of empty cans, the companion wonders if she drank all of this by herself, prompting a desperate panic denial from her. She desperately explains that the cans accumulated over several weeks, though her panic intensifies when Hyunjae remains completely silent. But Hyunjae isn't judging her drinking habits. His eyes are locked onto a suffocating dark purple aura wrapping around her body. Realizing how rapidly this dark energy has consumed his neighbor, a wave of serious concern washes over him. To investigate further, Hyunjae suddenly asks if they can grab the meal she previously promised, catching her completely off guard amidst the mess. He kindly offers to help her clean up the scattered cans first, earning a sigh of immense relief and gratitude from her. After successfully dumping the recycling, Soo-jin admits she rarely eats out locally, prompting Hyunjae to lead her to a trusted spot. He guides her to a charming 30-year-old local restaurant famed for its rich, incredible broth. The elderly owner greets them warmly and playfully teases Soo-jin about bringing a handsome boyfriend along. Flustered by the owner's teasing, Soo-jin quickly clears up the misunderstanding and orders 2 of the house specials. When their steaming bowls of soup arrive, Soo-jin praises the appetizing meal, guessing it is one of Hyunjae's favorite regular spots. Enjoying the food, she suggests they drop their stuffy professional titles and speak more comfortably together. Hyunjae readily agrees to the casual terms and immediately uses the opportunity to bring up a pressing question. He asks her who gifted her the houseplant from before, learning it was from her sister, though he wonders what the occasion was. Sensing his intense curiosity, she asks if there is an issue with the tree, leaving him struggling to explain the truth. He hesitates, deeply concerned that sharing his ability to see spiritual auras will make her think he has completely lost his mind. Taking a leap of faith, Hyunjae confesses that he possesses a rare ability to perceive the spiritual auras of living things in vivid colors. To his utter surprise, she doesn't laugh, calmly comparing his sight to a form of intuitive energy reading. Befuddled by her remarkably relaxed reaction, he notes that she does not seem surprised by his supernatural confession at all. She explains that her sister actually studied alternative medicine and ki healing, making the concept of spiritual energy perfectly normal to her. When Hyunjae eagerly asks if he can meet her, Soojin drops a somber bombshell, revealing she passed away during her childhood. After Hyunjae softly apologizes for the touchy subject, she quickly steers the conversation back to the ominous energy surrounding her tree. He warns her that the plant's dark, tainted energy is highly dangerous and will eventually begin to corrupt anyone living near it. Shaken by his warning, she pale-facedly confesses that she has been trapped in the exact same terrifying nightmare every single day. She describes a horrific, pitch-black female entity that manifests inside her house and looms over her in the dark. Paralyzed with fear, she watched helplessly as the sinister spirit crawled closer and closer to her face while her body remained completely locked.
The entity corners her, whispering chilling commands to die directly into her ear.
Hyunjae listens intently as Soojin admits she originally dismissed the nightmares as mere stress and overthinking. Rubbing her temples in exhaustion, she confesses she has been drinking heavily just to stay awake, too terrified to fall asleep. Sensing the extreme danger, Hyunjae offers to bring in a trusted professional who specializes in dealing with these supernatural disturbances. Later that evening, a luxury red sports car pulls up outside their office del as the group gathers to confront the dark presence. Soojin apologizes for calling him out so late, but the young shaman in white, Ji-jin, happily assures her he is always ready to help a beautiful lady. As they reach the door, Ji-jin asks about the strange tree and Soojin opens the electronic lock to let them inside. Stepping inside, the shamans immediately detect a thick, suffocating aura of death lingering heavily in the room. They spot the plant across the room, which Ji-jin confidently confirms is heavily possessed by a dark entity. He warns that the buds are actively drawing in vengeful ghosts, and they're lucky to have caught it before the flowers bloomed. When Ji-jin asks about the plant's origin, Soojin confirms her sister gave it to her, claiming it was a rare plant called Hamsawa. Gi-jin debunks this, identifying it as a Joryong tree raised carefully from a young age to carry a powerful, malicious curse. Soojin anxiously asks if he can identify the spell, but Gi-jin explains he must take it back to consult with his grandmother. Suddenly, Gi-jin firmly snaps a stem off the cursed plant. An ear-splitting, agonizing supernatural shriek erupts from the plant, releasing a violent wave of red spiritual energy that strikes the group. As they cover their ears in agony, Gi-jin angrily wonders what Soojin's sister could have possibly been thinking when she gifted her such a deadly curse. A deadly supernatural plot unfolds as the brown-haired shaman Gi-jin warns Hyunjae to stay far away from their mysterious neighbor's family, prompting a tense question about the true scale of the danger. As a small transport truck drives through the quiet city streets under the night sky, a grim realization dawns that the cursed Joryong tree was sent with malicious intent. Standing together in the darkness, Hyunjae and Soojin express their relief that the dark curse was intercepted before it could spread any further. The brown-haired shaman grimly notes that Soojin's life was in severe danger, advising Hyunjae to warn her about her sister's deadly intentions. Exhausted and unable to sleep, Hyunjae lies wide awake on his bed, resolving to clear his head with a weekend run. Staring at the ceiling, he replays the shaman's haunting warning about the deliberate nature of the cursed Joryong tree. Memories of the shaman's grim words flash through his mind, emphasizing just how close their neighbor came to losing her life. Tossing and turning, Hyunjae contemplates the urgent warning he must deliver regarding the neighbor's treacherous sister. Morning light bathes the modern exterior of the apartment complex as a new day begins, bringing no rest for the weary lawyer. Stretching his arms in the hallway, Hyunjae prepares for his jog while his brown-haired companion lazily decides to join in. Suddenly, Soojin steps out into the hallway wearing casual athletic wear and a baseball cap, pleasantly surprised to run into Hyunjae.
Hyunjae casually mentions his plans for a jog and friendly asks if she is also heading out early.
Blushing slightly, Soojin gathers her courage to ask if he would accompany her, promising to buy him lunch in return. While Hyunjae stands frozen in surprise, his mischievous brown-haired companion eagerly teases him about scoring his very first date. The grand journey of fate continues as the group prepares to confront the lingering shadows of the past. Cruising down the highway, Soojin drives their white car and expresses her sincere gratitude to Hyunjae for joining her. Sitting in the passenger seat, Hyunjae kindly agrees when Soojin asks if they can make a brief detour first. They pull up to a charming local flower shop, where Soojin politely requests a special arrangement of white chrysanthemums. Their next stop brings them to a bakery called Beyond Bread, where Soojin purchases a strawberry shortcake and a single candle. Walking back to the car together, Hyunjae curiously asks if they are celebrating a birthday, prompting a vague promise of an explanation. Soojin smiles with pure, peaceful joy, cradling the flowers and cake as they head toward their destination. Seeing her genuine happiness, Hyunjae offers a warm, supportive smile, though his curiosity only continues to grow. Gi-jin leaps in the background with playful antics, teasing Hyunjae about being completely whipped on his first official date.
Their white sedan pulls up to a grand modern building with towering stone pillars, revealed to be a quiet columbarium.
Stepping into the quiet hall, Soojin asks if he has visited such a place before, prompting Hyunjae to share his own childhood loss. Soojin quickly apologizes for bringing up a sensitive topic, but Hyunjae gently reassures her that there is no need to worry.
She approaches a designated memorial niche, greeting her late mother before her resting place in a childhood photograph.
Placing the fresh cake and chrysanthemums before the urn, Soojin softly explains that a kind neighbor helped her through her recent struggles. Kneeling before the niche, Soojin confesses that she used to think her mother's spiritual Reiki healing work was entirely made up. Turning to look at Hyunjae, she admits she finally believes the truth now that she has met someone with genuine spiritual sight. Suddenly, Gi-jin's playful demeanor vanishes as he urgently alerts Hyunjae to a bizarre manifestation appearing behind their neighbor. As Soojin continues her tearful confession to her family, a pair of ghostly bare feet slowly steps forward into the light. In a breathtaking display of maternal love, the glowing spirit of Soojin's mother appears, gently placing her hands over her daughter's head. Kneeling in deep grief, Soojin tearfully begs her mother for forgiveness for a lifetime of skepticism.
Watching the spirit materialize, Gi-jin quietly notes her striking resemblance to the woman in the framed memorial photograph. Staring at the beautiful family photo, Hyunjae realizes that her mother's protective spirit has stayed by her side out of pure love.
Sensing her daughter's pain, the maternal spirit channels a bright, purifying energy to cleanse the dark, murky curse clinging to Soojin.
A massive radiant explosion of colorful spiritual light floods the columbarium, dissolving the last remnants of the sinister tree's corruption.
With her heart finally at peace, Soojin wipes away her tears while Hyunjae gently checks to see if she is all right.
Looking up with a brilliant, unburdened smile, Soojin confirms that reuniting with her mother has made her feel incredibly light.
Hyunjae sighs in immense relief, observing that her spiritual aura has successfully returned to its pure, healthy state. Shaking off the heavy emotions, Soojin brightly suggests they finally grab their long-overdue lunch, asking what he wants to eat. As they walk down the stairs, Soojin looks forward to a steaming bowl of hot soup to warm up, while the protective mother watches from above. Seizing a critical opportunity, Hyunjae quietly instructs Gi-jin to stay behind and question the mother's spirit about their family secrets. Soojin happily suggests a nearby noodle shop, completely unaware that her mother's lingering spirit is quietly watching them depart. Gi-jin turns back toward the bright doorway, calling out to stop the maternal spirit before she completely fades away. Stepping closer to the ethereal entity, the brown-haired shaman directly asks if she is indeed Han Soojin's mother. With a quiet, solemn expression, the beautiful maternal spirit turns around and softly confirms her identity. Gi-jin wastes no time politely requesting a moment of her time to uncover the dark truth behind her family's curse. Sitting inside the warm restaurant, Soojin prepares to enjoy her hot bowl of noodles, unaware of the shocking revelations unfolding back at the columbarium. A dark family secret begins to unravel over a warm bowl of noodles as Soojin makes a heart-wrenching confession about her lonely life. Looking down in sorrow, she reveals that her siblings are worse than strangers and only wish to see her fail. Intrigued, Hyunjae probes deeper as Soojin explains her late mother was actually her father's second wife. The mystery deepens as she shares that her mother was adopted to the United States during her childhood. Listening intently, Hyunjae learns of her mother's difficult upbringing and her lifelong desire to find her roots in Korea. Soojin recalls her mother finding success as a gifted Reiki therapist, eventually treating a physically and mentally exhausted wealthy client. With gentle hands emitting a warm aura, she guided him to relax and let go of his pain. Stunned by the incredible experience, the wealthy man looked up in absolute disbelief at her spiritual gift. Overcome with emotion, he shed bitter tears of grief as he finally resolved to let go of his past loss. He sobbed uncontrollably in her office while she stood by as a patient, reassuring presence.
Seeking to repay her kindness, the grateful patient offered to take her out for a meal.
Though she politely declined due to professional boundaries, he eagerly suggested meeting as simple acquaintances. Walking side by side through the city, a deep mutual affection blossomed between the gentle therapist and her patient. Her breath caught in surprise when he presented her with a stunning diamond ring. Kneeling on one knee, he asked for her hand in marriage, unaware of the quiet hostility brewing within his existing family. The two sullen children glared with pure resentment from behind the newly married couple in their formal family portrait. Soojin explains that her hostile half-siblings bullied her mother relentlessly, eventually driving her into a deep depression. Crying softly, she admits her mother died when she was only 8, leaving her completely alone in the world. Hyunjae gently hands her a handkerchief as she blames herself for being a naive child back then. He reassures her that any child in her position would have made the same mistake. Feeling lighter, Soojin wipes her tears while Hyunjae brings up her drastically improved spiritual energy. He reveals the shocking truth that her mother's spirit appeared at the columbarium to cleanse her curse.
Sujin gasps in absolute shock, her eyes widening at the revelation of her mother's post-mortem protection.
Hyunjae describes how peaceful and beautiful her mother looked, assuring her that her soul is resting happily.
With a gentle, reassuring smile, he guarantees her mother has successfully crossed over to a better place. Tears of relief stream down Sujin's face as she thanks him for confirming her mother's peaceful transition. The scene transitions to the modern, bright exterior of their apartment building under a clear blue sky. Walking down the hallway, Sujin apologizes for taking up his entire weekend with her personal troubles. Stopping outside her door, she offers a polite handshake to express her sincere gratitude for the day. As their hands meet, a sudden, blinding burst of colorful spiritual energy ripples through their touch. Hyunjae stands frozen in absolute awe as her latent warmth surges directly into his body. His mind clears instantly, enveloped in a comforting warmth that feels like pure, refreshing energy. Smiling brightly, Sujin waves goodbye and tells him to rest well after their long jog. Standing alone in his hallway, Hyunjae stares at his palm in complete disbelief at the lingering sensation. He wonders if this incredible, purifying warmth was the exact therapy her mother used to heal others. Jijin sits lazily on the living room sofa, playfully teasing him for staring so intensely at his own hand. The brown-haired shaman's expression turns deadly serious as he reveals that the mother spirit suspects foul play. In a chilling flashback, Jijin listens to the spirit explain the impossibility of her sudden, fatal fall. The spirit recalls reading her own autopsy report in the morgue, finding traces of an unidentified drug. Despite the highly suspicious report, her body was rushed to cremation without any police investigation. Back in the present, Jijin explains that a rushed cremation requires influential family backing to bypass normal procedures. Hyunjae asks if Sujin knows anything, but Jijin confirms her mother hid the truth to protect her. Gijin warns that the same culprits who targeted the mother are likely setting their sights on Sujin next. A chilling realization settles in that certain family members could not stand the idea of sharing the inheritance. A flashback reveals colleagues discussing Sujin's identity as the elusive youngest daughter of a powerful law firm mogul. On the laptop screen, the profiles of the two greedy half-siblings confirm they would stop at nothing to eliminate rivals. Hyunjae realizes the influential father must have actively covered up the murder to avoid a massive public scandal. A sudden shout echoes through the law office hallway about a massive high-profile client arriving for a consultation. Hyunjae's colleague excitedly boasts about securing a VIP case, while Hyunjae calmly heads back to his office. A sharp knock sounds on the office door of attorney Yoo Hyunjae, signaling the arrival of a dangerous new chapter. Just as one dark mystery settles, a chilling new client knocks on the door as attorney Kim interrupts Hyunjae's quiet office hours to request a quick favor. With a confident smile, his coworker reveals that the elite VIP visitor has specifically requested Hyunjae's personal representation. Instantly preparing himself for the high-stakes consultation, the young attorney steps out with absolute determination. A distinguished older man shrouded in a mysterious, misty aura notes with surprise that the famous attorney is younger than expected. Recognizing the man's immense power through his sharp, colorful aura, Hyunjae politely guides the wealthy elite to the private consultation room. Taking a seat behind his laptop, the lawyer begins the meeting by asking how the wealthy man is acquainted with their building's humble security guard. The elite client thoughtfully explains that earning the genuine respect of lower-status workers is the ultimate judge of true character. Satisfied with the answer, Hyunjae formally asks the man to trust his legal counsel and share the details of his urgent matter. Looking down with a heavy, grim expression, the wealthy client reveals he wants the attorney to defend a specific individual. Hyunjae naturally inquires about the relationship, only for the old man to confirm that the person is not family. While the brown-haired ghost Jijin watches over them, the client continues guessing whether the defendant is a friend or an employee. With a chilling, cold smile, the grieving father reveals that the target of his defense is the very monster who murdered his own son. Horrified by the sinister twist, the brilliant lawyer completely freezes at his computer desk, asking for immediate clarification. The grim client unflinchingly demands the defense of his child's killer, sparking a dark legal battle that threatens to consume everyone involved.